Signs of Life in the Zoo.
Yeah, we'll
Alright.
see how this is. Hello. Yep, we should be going now.
I don't know if you wanted to... Okay. Sorry. Alright. Well, we have a few people in the zoo, so I guess we're good. Alright, so hello everyone. Welcome to a new set review of a new Hearthstone set. I'm Abyss Hunted, joining me.
I'm Slio9. Hello.
We're going to be taking a look at One Night in Karazhan, which is a bit of a joke of a theme and a bit of a joke of a set, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, there's definitely worthwhile things in here. It's just
I have some issues, and I'll talk about those when we get to the end here.
Yeah. But yeah, the theme being kind of like a party theme for most of the cards, like.
Yeah, I mean it's both a party and it's also based around a WoW dungeon that had different floors. So it's like here's a WoW dungeon, and so we have elements like iconic to that dungeon and its bosses. But we also are having a party there, so we need party stuff. But anyways, since we got some people here, I guess we'll.
We can start things off.
We'll try to talk about a lot of the cards here are more for Arena than Constructed, so we'll talk about Constructed if it comes up, but we'll probably more focus towards Arena discussion for cards.
I feel like a lot of these cards fall, like you were saying earlier, like a lot of these kind of fall into like an Arena spectrum anyway, because not a ton of them have a huge impact on Constructed decks. So
yeah, so without further ado, I guess we'll start with, and also, good evening to everyone in the zoo, Harriant, Huzzah, McSuttle, Nick the Maron, Nether Tribes, Omnicrom, Zambo Ace, and everyone else as well. Banist. Okay, so we'll begin here with our first neutral common, and hello Greydock. Neutral common in the set, Arcane Anomaly. Common, 1 mana, neutral, 2/1, with whenever you cast a spell, give this minion +1 health. So, I actually like this card with one spell in particular, and that's the coin.
I was gonna say the coin. So we're one card in, and do we have the card that saves Priest? Like. You play this coin, power word, shield, and you have a 2/5. Like you can't lose. We've done it. We save Priest, everybody.
You know, that's actually more credit to giving Priest stuff than I thought about for this set. But yeah, no. But I was just thinking like Arena. He's like, okay, hold this on 1, turn 2, play a 2-drop. Or sorry, you play this coin and play a 2-drop.
Right, or even like if you have an aggressive enough deck where you can just go 1-drop coin, like you play this coin and then like Bladed Cultist or
aggro Shaman, and you're just going like Arcane Anomaly coin Trog.
Yeah, like in the Arena you're gonna have like it's not super likely to have 2/1s. Like your decks usually aren't that aggressive, but if you do have like Argent Squire and this, and I like this card a lot.
Yeah, I'm willing to call this a good Arena card and possibly able to make it into Constructed. In maybe some very aggressive decks, if you can actually get it as a 2/2, but both depending on the coin.
Right. I guess it is kind of weird because the card's much worse on the play. Like we're not talking Mana War anyway.
Right. I mean, it's also it's a 1 mana 2/1, which in Arena. I'd play those just to put my opponent off tempo, force them to use a hero power, or trade with keep them off a 2-drop.
Right.
Anyways, on to the next card. Runic Egg, 1 mana 0/2 with Death Rattle, draw a card. I think it's hot garbage.
That's an egg, all right.
So I guess the immediate comparison is Nerubian Egg and say, well, you play this out and, like, you could put a buff on it and trade up. Like, oh, you could play this in a zoo deck and, like, just Abusive Sergeant and get a trade off of it for no card at all. The issue here is that the problem Nerubian Egg has is your opponent ignores it until you actually do something with it. Now, Nerubian Egg has, if your opponent plays a sweeper, they get super punished, because then there's a 4/4 on board. This is, well, I guess this card my opponent tried to cycle. I guess I'll finally have to let it cycle.
Right, I think Dragon Egg is another card that compares pretty, like, similarly to it in its setup. It's a card that's like 0 mana 0/2 that is sort of designed to be like, I've made your board clear a little worse. And even in that comparison, this card's pretty behind it.
Like, maybe Nerubian Egg isn't a better comparison, but, like, think about this compared to, like, Novice Engineer or Loot Hoarder. Like, imagine a Loot Hoarder that you can't trade into things and your opponent's not going to kill, and it's just, oh, I guess I have a dead card.
Yeah, also, like, we're not in a world where, like, the aggro decks want to be playing null cards as their 1-drop when you have, like, if we're talking about, like, a Warlock deck, like, you have a lot better 1-drops to play.
Right. Like, if they need a 1-drop, they got Flame Imp or something, and if they need to draw cards, they have Life Tap. So,
what if this card just had Taunt?
I mean, you could give it Taunt. You can give a Nerubian Egg Taunt. No, I think this is horrible. It's not good for Constructed, and it's worse for Arena.
Pass.
Next card. Netherspite Historian. 2-mana 1/3 with Battlecry. If you're holding a dragon, discover a dragon. So, I guess this is a good point to point out that they are continuing the theme of dragon support, even though at the start of next year, we're going to be having both Blackrock Mountain and Grand Tournament rotating out, which contain most of the dragon cards.
Right. Well, I think at that point you'll have the champions. Do those rotate out, or I know those weren't in those were after the Grand Tournament, right? Like Alex Strauss's champion, those ones.
I thought that Alex Strauss's champion was in the Grand Tournament.
I know there were some. Basically, they had printed a couple. Yeah, I think you're right on that. Strauss's champion is. Yeah, Grand Tournament. Okay, I swear there's a couple more, like, dragon holding cards that were printed and things that aren't rotating, but yeah, like 90% of...
Right, like, the initial ones were in Blackrock, and then the good ones were in Grand Tournament, like the 3/6 Taunter.
Yeah, so...
But that said, though, Constructed aside, this is a card, I mean, I guess compares to, say, as a 2-drop that lets you discover something, compares to, like, there's that Priest 1/2 that lets you discover a Death Rattle card. This has the stipulation that you have to be holding a dragon, which shouldn't be a problem in dragon decks, but...
Right. Now, the other thing with this card is that if we're talking about discovering a dragon, a very large percentage of those dragons, compared to any other, like, tribe, are legends. Or, you know, like, compared to, like, beasts or mechs or, you know, say Gorilla Bot or Tomb Spider, this has a much higher chance of discovering some sort of incredibly high impact, way too expensive card.
Right.
Which
makes it strong. It's also, though, if you're playing this in the arena, then that also means you're seeing fewer dragons. There's you usually still will have, like, I guess, you know the guy who's like a fire elemental that says if you're holding a dragon, the Blackwing Corruptor? Yep. So, he's often a card I and a lot of other people shy away from picking in arena simply because dragons are a harder tribe to get.
Very much so.
And this itself not being a dragon probably runs into the same problem as that.
I'm not, yeah, so, like, on the whole, I'm not certain this is really good enough for constructed, especially because the dragon decks have other 2-drops you really want to be playing.
Dragon Priest has the 2/4 Taunter. Is that a 2?
Yeah, that's a 2.
Right, and also, even if not that, like, this is not a good card in the face of really fast aggro decks.
Yeah. So, and then in the arena, this is very hit or miss, because again, holding dragon is, again, a side effect of a lot of the dragons being at legend means there's not that many at common and rare.
Right. Yeah, also Harriet brings up Doomsayer's a good 2-drop for dragon decks.
Yeah.
But if you have enough dragons in arena, which isn't likely, but it's not too unlikely, you could make it work otherwise, though. Yeah.
Alright.
I guess we'll go on to the next card. The Pompous Thespian, 2 mana, 3/2 taunt, neutral. So,
nice.
It's not Robocub for Druid, and it's arguably not even a sparring partner warrior card. But that said, I mean, perfectly reasonable 2-drop.
Right, because we're talking, like, neutral, we're talking better, like, not straight better than a Bloodfen Raptor, because Beast as a type matters, but, like, this is something I'm completely fine playing any number of Bloodfen Raptors, and this one is one with an ability.
Right.
So.
Funny enough, there may be circumstances where this is worse than a Bloodfen Raptor if you actually have a Taunter, and I like the situation you might often see. You have a big Taunter, so you play some Bloodfen Raptors and 2-drops behind it, and this you don't play behind it. But yeah, no, it's still a perfectly reasonable card.
Nice skull of the Annoyatron you got there on the art.
I was going to say, the best thing about this card is the art, and if the call-out for this card is not a completely overacted hello, 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 I'm going to be very upset.
That'd be really good. I want that. But yeah, this is just a solid card for, again, arena, solid card. I don't think there's constructed decks that really...
Yeah,
oh, this is straight power creep on Frostwolf Grunt.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
This is, yeah, the flat, like, we just added a power to Frostwolf Grunt, no drawback. So we have another outclassed card to go into the pile of Magma Rager and Booty Bay Bodyguard.
And Silverback Patriarch.
Silverback Patriarch.
But yeah. Okay. Anywho, on to the next common. Pantry Spider. 3 mana, 1/3 beast with Battle Cry, summon a 1/3 spider, which I believe is also a beast.
Yep.
So, anyone a fan of Penumbra Spider from Magic? This is not even close to as good.
No, sadly.
In fact, I don't think I even like it as much as Haunted Creeper.
So you're paying 3 mana for
1 power on the board that might eventually put another power on the board.
Battle Cry, not Death Rattle.
Oh, I've misread this card the entire time.
Yeah, this is a 2/6 in spread. So
forget what I said about Penumbra Spider then. Okay. Wow. Okay, that I completely reevaluates this card then. So we had the ooze. That's 2 mana, makes 2 1/2s.
Yep.
So this compares more to that. It makes 2 1/3s, but you're not copying buffs on it.
Also, like, you are getting Beast as a type, but like 1/3s. Like, I think the biggest problem here is that if your opponent has like just a Raptor,
right,
they get to answer you way too efficiently.
So in this case, then the best card this compares to is Don't Mess with Tusker, which is a 2/3 and a 1/1.
I think that's a very good comparison, because Tusker even has like the Beast on the come into play.
On half of it. So if you actually are in a deck that cares a lot, it's very important for you to have Beasts. This might be better, and it survives. I mean, half of it survives a hero power, but so effectively you're probably keeping 2 power with Don't Mess with Tusker, and you're probably keeping 2 power here, but it's for which is better.
Yeah, I'm a bit, like I said, I'm a bit apprehensive about playing this in Arena just because of how, like, how easily a 3/2 trades up into both halves. But if I have a deck that really is like some sort of beast hunter or even like a beast druid, it might be fine considering. Like if you can curve this into a houndmaster.
Right. Yeah, it also depends on what your hero power is, because like if you're trading half of this and a hero power for someone's 3/2, and then half of this and another hero power for a 3/2, then you feel great. But
so I think this is fine, but it's a little more situational. Like it is 2/6 worth of stats.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess to make my comments a little more specific, I'm basically never talking about constructed decks unless I specifically call something out. So
yeah, and I think I'm roughly the same way here. Anyways, I think we've probably said enough about this one. On to the next card, which is what I think is one of the stronger cards in this set.
Agreed.
Violet Illusionist, 3 mana 4/3, which is always stats. I'm fine with playing in Arena and possibly even Constructed. And with during your turn, your hero is immune. So just to start, you've got Druid and Rogue, especially Rogue. That it's just, I can start punching down things without taking damage. Then you can add in weapon classes like Warrior and Shaman into that. And then let's also not forget that Warlock has something called Life Tap that you're suddenly not taking damage off of.
This ability is absolutely crazy. There are so many ways that this is great. This is another card that lets you do the really silly, actually the really silly Tree of Life kill. And,
Tree of Life, Soul Priest, Violet Illusionist.
Yeah, still over 2 classes, so it doesn't work. But to have a card that is stats. I would play this with no text. I play this with no text all the time, but. You play this card and you play a weapon. You play this card and you play Druid hero power, or what you said. You play this card and you play half of the Warlock cards you want. You know, Life Tap, Flame Imp doesn't damage you if you play this like that and this on 4.
I don't know if this and Pit Lord is a deck, but
heck, if you could get to that point, like you play this and then Pit Lord on 4, and you're that far ahead of the curve, you know. There's so many great things about this card. Just on top of, oh, by the way, it's a 4/3 at common. So
yeah,
I'm excited about this one. This one actually, like you said, there could be like constructed decks that make use of it, so
yeah. Heck, you could even just like help you punch down a 7/7, because that's definitely a thing.
Right. So
classes need.
Definitely a card that makes Rogue a bit more powerful in the arena.
Right.
But
Rogue is the one I think that benefits from this the most, and probably Warlock. But
yeah.
Good, strong card. Next card, Zubot. Now, this is the first card of, I guess, one of the only really 2 themes that I think are in this set. So this is from the Menagerie theme, which is basically caring about having beasts and dragons and murlocs. So we've got the Zubot, which is a 3 mana 3/3 mech with Battle Cry. Give a random friendly beast, dragon, and murloc +1/+1. So at first, I thought this effect is, why would you be playing beasts, dragons, and murlocs together, and it's only +1/+1. But then you have to realize, stat-wise, 3 mana 3/3, that's fine. And then if you've got one of those minions, you don't have to have all of them, you could just have one of them, and okay, give it +1/+1, then you've basically got a Shattered Sun Cleric with 1 more health.
Well, you got a Shattered Sun Cleric pre-nerf. Like Shattered Sun used to be a 3/3. And was incredible. There was a reason it's a 3/2 now, and there are such a plethora of 2-drops that this works perfectly with. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's 2 drops in I think all those tribes, but and Zambo always points out this card art doesn't feature any murlocs.
Okay, that's funny.
And Omnicron points out that you should combine this with Mistform Ultimus.
Yeah, that's a pretty good combo with Mistform Ultimus.
Yeah, but I was actually surprised the set does not feature a card that just had like I honestly was convinced they were going to print a card that just is a Beast, Dragon, and Murloc, but they didn't.
It would have like no text and just a bunch of banners on it.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty silly. I'd like that. But yeah, like, so if we're talking beasts, there's an absolute, a ton of beasts at 2. River Crocolisk and Bloodfin Raptor, the common ones, the ones that we use as our baseline. Dragons, we have Fairy Dragon. Murloc, we have a couple different Murlocs. The most common being the Tide Hunter. Either version, either the one that makes the ooze or the 1/1, or a Bluegill Warrior, though that one's usually dead.
Right. And I guess also just a consideration, because the cards like this exist, is that maybe just in Arena, even if you're not in a thing that cares about a particular tribe or a class that does that, now that you have this, there might be reason just to incentivize drafting cards in a tribe, regardless.
Right, just like, this has a tribe on it, therefore... And, I mean, this card's a mech as well, so,
Right.
benefits from all the mech synergy that exists within the arena, not within standard. But
I think all the Menagerie cards are mechs.
not all of them. There's one that is not.
Oh, okay. I thought they were. I guess we'll see that. But yeah, this is... I'm fine. It's not the best if you don't have something else out, but it's fine. And then if you've got something else out, it's arena value. I don't think any constructed deck is playing this, but
I'm gonna take the opposite, the over on that one. I think we are gonna see this one see some constructed play. Even like, what if it's just some sort of dragon deck that gets to use this, or like this doesn't. Again, you don't have to be playing a Beast, a Dragon, and a Murloc. You only need one. So.
Right. So what? Dragon Warrior plays this to buff their Fairy Dragons?
More like. I was kind of thinking more like Hunter, but like.
Yeah, I mean Hunter and Beast. That's true. Your Fiery Bat is suddenly a 3/2.
King's Elec into this, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So.
That could. Yeah.
Basically, Shattered Sun Cleric saw a ton of constructed play, so much that it did get nerfed down to a 3/2.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if this did as well.
Yeah, the reason I think it won't is because, I mean, random is a downside it has against Shattered Sun, and Shattered Sun doesn't really see much play now, but...
Right.
Alright, I guess, talked plenty about Zubot. On to the next card. Arcanosmith. 4 mana 3/2 with Battlecry. Summon a 0/5 minion with Taunt. So a 3/2 and an 0/5 for 4. I don't know if I like 2 more mana on a Bloodfin Raptor just to get an 0/5 Taunt.
I want to know. I wish I knew how much the mana cost on the Taunt was. I don't.
Let's see. If I can't. That.
It's not on the page, like, if I look at the actual wiki for it.
Yeah, no, that has not, information has not been revealed yet, but, I mean, just to point out, though, there is already in the game an 0/4 Taunt, which is a 1-drop. So,
yes.
This is a 3/2 and barely above a 1-drop for 4. That seems behind the curve on mana cost.
Yeah, I mean... If we take kind of like we're looking at Pantry Spider, the combined stats, we do have a 3/7, but that's much less relevant here because like the 5. It's not like the taunt has any power. It's literally just this wall for 5. That said, I still would be okay enough with this in certain decks. Like it's not unplayably bad. It's just underwhelming.
I'd pick other things over it, but if I say there are 4 drops I'd pick after this, like a certain 2/2, but
yeah, I think the deck this fits in is where you're a deck that wants to you're not even caring about trading minions, you're just going straight for the face. You play this on 4 and they have to work to even make trades at you again. But that's almost better done by Ascension Shieldmaster basically every time.
Right, because that kills the guys they send into it.
Right. So...
Yeah, we took Ascension Shieldmaster and, like, split its health from its attack on 2 bodies, and... Yeah. Anyways, I'm not the biggest fan, but I mean, there's worse I'd play.
Testing opens again.
Next card, Menagerie Magician. 5 mana, 4/4 with Battlecry. Give a random friendly beast, dragon, and murloc +2/+2.
As much as I was excited about Zubat, I'm also excited about the Menagerie Magician because, like, for the same reasons, we have if this triggers just once, you have 5 mana for 6/6 worth of stats.
Right, which is a Squire Attend Me, but that's a very good card. And like compare this even to like Dark Iron Dwarf, which is permanent +2/+2 versus temporary +2 attack for only 1 more mana.
Right, and you get to. I kind of think a good comparison for this is, in some ways, is Houndmaster.
Yeah, possibly. Like +2/+2 is a lot, and if you're actually getting this on 2 guys, like you're basically winning.
That's spicy if you're actually able to set that up, which could be. I think the biggest way that would be happening is if you had some sort of stealth on like the beast, but you know, a jungle panther hiding.
Panthers and tigers exist, so.
Yeah, as much as I like the Zubat, this is the same spot. I'd be completely happy to have this on my side.
So this is as I said with the previous one, that there's incentive to pick tribed cards. This card is more saying there's incentive in a game to kill your opponent's tribed cards.
Yeah, you don't want to leave them with like, alright, I left them with this 1/1 Murloc and they have a Jungle Panther stealth, and then all of a sudden, you get absolutely backbroken by 8 power and toughness just appearing on the board for 5.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's callable for Silverheart, but
yeah, that it is. I don't know. I think that Zubat was going to see constructed play. I'm not certain on this one as much, but
this, I'll say this: this will see constructed play only in the sense of if someone's trying to build a actual menagerie deck, which I'm not sure anyone will. This is the card they want for that.
So yeah,
I'm not sure that's going to be viable as a deck. I honestly think that's a little too cute and non-synergistic to pull off, but there is one more menagerie card we'll see later.
We can talk more about the menagerie thing when we hit that one. So
now we're into rares. So we've got the Avian Watcher, 5 mana 3/6, which is a Fen Creeper without the taunt. And then Battlecry, if you control a secret, gain +1/+1 and taunt.
4/7 taunt for 5 is outrageous.
Yeah,
I want to say.
Then you're going to which is it Fukin or Stalag is the 4/7, and then you're putting taunt on that.
Yeah. Is it Fukin?
Or are those 4 drops?
No, Fugan is the one that's a 4/7 for 5.
Right. Yeah. So this is then Fugan with taunt, but you need secrets, so there's only 3 classes that are even considering this. And is that actually good as a 5? I mean,
I guess
it's Druid of the Claw with 1 more health. I guess is a better comparison. And Druid of the Claw is a fine 5, but
Druid of the Claw might be one of the best 5s. Like, yeah. The thing is, like, so if we're talking arena, it's actually going to be quite difficult for you to have a secret stick, right? Like that's generally pretty hard to have a draft, like have an arena draft. For one, you only have 3 classes where that's possible, and for 2, even within those 3, a lot of those secrets are way too quick to trigger for you to keep them around.
Right, they're either like Hunter is the best shot, but Hunter isn't the strongest arena class. Paladin and Mage are stronger arena classes, but Paladin secrets you're basically not picking, and Mage secrets, a lot of those are like rare and higher.
Right, and even the ones you are picking in Paladin trigger immediate. Avenge isn't something that sticks around for too dang long.
Yeah, so
Mage is probably the one that has the best chance of it sticking, but all those, like you said, are rare, which kind of brings me to constructed. Is there like an ice block deck this is playable in?
I'd say your chances are better in Wild, because Mad Scientist is around there.
Yeah. Like, specifically, this card seems... If you have...
But yeah.
That's the only deck I could even see this being played in a constructed format. Yeah. Is something with Ice Block, and...
I don't think I see... Like... Okay, how about this? It gives... Secret Paladin had perfect drops on 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7, so it gives it a 5.
Ah. Perfect. This is really good for that one tavern brawl. Alright.
Yeah, it's a strong card. It's just hard to make work in Arena, and I don't know if it's good enough for Constructed. Also, yeah, Sludge Belcher is probably still the 5-mana taunt you want.
Yeah, if we're talking Wild, yeah. Alright.
Anyways, next card, Bookworm. 6-mana 3/6 dragon. With Battlecry, if you're holding a dragon, destroy an enemy minion with 3 or less attack. So, 6-mana 3/6 is obviously bad stats, but then if you have a dragon, you have a Shadow Word Pain attached to that. Now, the card I think this compares best to is Stampeding Kodo.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. Like, Stampeding Kodo has similar stats, has a type that matters, and it has the same sort of Necrotol thing, though there are, some key differences. Targeting versus not targeting, 5 versus 6 on both toughness and... 3
attack versus 2 attack, and then 3/5 versus 3/6.
Yeah.
I don't think this is good for Constructed, except maybe some kind of Dragon Paladin. Because rules following exists.
That's fair.
The problem is coming down on 6 to kill a tiny thing is pretty late.
Right, you come down on 6, you kill a tiny thing, and then, like, you're in Constructed, you're already run down by everything else, and in the Arena, it's... for one, we're talking about a Dragon Hold card in the Arena, which this is a dragon, so it makes things like that care about dragon holding better. But like you play this on 6, and your opponent's like, "Here's my Boulder Fist Ogre." That ain't where you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dream for this would be like killing Fen Creeper or Psychotron, like killing their 5, which would be.
If there is a dragon deck that wants to play this, though, I still think it's Paladin. Like, if you're going, you could say, I'm a little upset because Blizzard said, "Oh, this card is a buff for Priest," because Dragon Priest is a thing, and if you actually are playing Priest, I think Dragon Priest would rather play Cabal Shadow Priest than this is their 6.
100%. Like, Dragon Priest, that isn't the problem Dragon Priest has. Yeah, Cabal exists. Like, why would you kill it when you could just take it?
But, anyways, I still, I guess, it's hard to find a place you'd want to play this, but I actually do like this card.
Agreed. It's got a pun name,
Yeah. Bookworms. He's got, are those tiny little glasses he has? I think they are.
Yeah, little tiny book.
Alright, next card, Moat Lurker. 6 mana 3/3 with Battlecry, destroy a minion, Death Rattle, resummon it. So first of all, just something I want to point out, something Omnichrome and the Zoo pointed out to me is Karazhan doesn't have a moat. So just putting that out there first.
Oh.
But so I don't know where this guy came from. I guess somebody invited him from some moat to the party. But
well, there's a lot of portals to other places in this tower. Maybe it just popped out of.
Now, this card itself, I think this card is great. I like this card a lot. I'm disagreeing with people in the Zoo who say this is awful. More in Arena than Constructed, but basically, yes, it's a tiny body for a 6/6. Yes, the minion will be back later, but this is a Banisher Priest, is what this is. And that's something Hearthstone has been sorely lacking.
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of times in the Arena where you have to ask the question, it's like, could I just get past this dang Fen Creeper to win?
Right.
And it doesn't matter that your Moat Lurker dies on the next turn, like, your opponent is dead.
Right.
This is this is sort of like the...
Yeah, I guess the difference between a Banisher Priest and this in Hearthstone is that in Magic you can not block with a Banisher Priest. In Hearthstone, your opponent can attack right into it.
I mean, 3/3 worth of stats dies to a 2-drop. That's...
Right. That said, though, I still like this card a lot, even if it's just like a body with, I guess, what's a sap on it is the best way to think about it. Because, I mean, that just says destroy a minion unconditionally. Like, one of the reasons I like this a lot is there are some classes that just don't have access to that kind of effect. And this giving all of them that tool is, I think, something I like a lot. Like, one of the problems with the Druid is, are you willing to play Naturalize to get rid of their card?
Yeah. That might be true. Like having some sort of silence effect is likely similar in effect to, like, Spellbreaker is going to be very similar in effect to this. I'm not as excited as you are about this in the arena. Like, a 6 mana for a 3/3 isn't where I want to be on stats, and, like, I have to be a pretty aggressive deck to want something like this. But I will say that this at least has some sort of, like, one of the decks that I enjoy playing in Constructed is one that my friend Gnome Bitten played a lot, and it's this Death Rattle Shaman deck that just is like, you know, I'm going to continuously resummon Sylvanas with effects like this. And so it's at least an interesting puzzle for a Constructed deck. It's nowhere near a good card in Constructed. I'm not making that claim.
So yeah, so you mentioned resummoning Sylvanas, so I mean that is a thing you can do with this is you can pick one of your own minions to put under this and wait for your opponent to kill this and get it back or have it come back for a sweeper. So yeah, you can, like, destroy your Sylvanas, your own Sylvanas with this, take your opponent's guy, and then when this dies you get another Sylvanas.
If Battlecry won't re-trigger because you didn't play the minion from your hand, if you destroy your opponent's minion, they get the minion back on the Death Rattle. It's being resummoned to where it died. I'm just answering a couple of questions on how this card functions, because it's unique. We don't have many cards in the game that have Battlecry Death Rattle. Yeah. There's only I know Toshly.
Yeah. But, like, I mean, besides it just being used for its simple senses removal, the two other senses I could see this being used for is, I mean, number one, like, if you have your own super powerful Death Rattle minion, you can trigger its Death Rattle, and then when this dies, you get another shot on it. And then the other thing is, I guess this is the real dream, is play this, kill your opponent's guy, play Recombobulator on it.
Right, the evolved, especially... This actually might be an interesting thing for some sort of evolve, because if you get this off of being the Moat Lurker, you just got a free Necrotol.
Right, free Necrotol, and then a 7-drop pops out, or a 6-drop if you're going Recombobulator. Right.
So that, like, this... I think this is a very interesting puzzle of a card, and is a much... is I appreciate seeing cards like this.
Right. And if you don't have a way to transform it, you can still just, like, silence it if you have to, although that's probably 2 cards to get rid of something, but...
Well, don't worry, we have a card upcoming that'll help you silence it, so...
Don't justify them printing that, but...
I won't.
Okay.
Trust me, I have a lot of words to say about that card, as I'm sure you do and everybody else in the world already has. So. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about a different card, though.
Yeah, okay, so on to the only epic in the entire set.
Only one, that's...
all the adventures have really been like that. Every wing gives a legendary that's neutral. I mean, there's no class neutrals or legendaries. Or sorry, no class specific epics or legendaries. Yep. And they only give you an epic. I think most of these are only one epic, and it's from the final wing. But so I guess we can say fairly for certain where we're getting this one from. But the only epic in the set, Arcane Giant, 12 mana, 8/8, and it costs 1 less for each spell you've cast in the game. So I guess that's maybe a somewhat minor theme in this. Is like cares about casting spells. There are a few cards like that, but as for what this is, it's a giant. So
yep. This is we've had Frost Giant, we've had Clockwork Giant, we've had the base set Giants. We continue having these that have the cost reduction based on X.
Unlike, say, Mountain and Molten Giant, this one I think is actually arena playable.
Yeah, this one, it does depend on having enough spells in your deck for it to be, like, worthwhile, but if you get this down to, like, 8 or 7, you're absolutely fine. Heck,
I'd even be fine playing it as a 10-mana 8/8 some of the time in arena. And, I mean, coin can also be a spell to help it. I actually think, though, that this is possibly a constructed playable card, and here's why. There are already decks that are good at casting lots of spells, and they're called Yogg-Saron decks.
Yeah, even before Yogg, we had, like the Mage Giant decks that
right.
played...
Even just, like, Tempo Mages or Flame Waker decks, but, like, any deck that just wants to be casting a lot of spells, which would be a Yogg deck, a Tempo Mage... This would probably fit right in.
Miracle.
Oh yeah,
Miracle
even
Rogue.
Miracle Rogue might. I mean, they have Edwin Van Cleef, but and this is. They probably don't want to be playing too many, but it's a. It is an option for some decks, certainly.
But yeah, I always like seeing the new Giant. Like they're always pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Secret Paladin doesn't play the spells. Secret Paladin just has all the spells.
Right. It says spell you've cast, so Yogg-Saron won't increase your counter for that, nor will, like, putting secrets from your deck into play, but...
Right, or Servant of Yogg-Saron, if you...
Right. You've had to cast it, but, yeah, it's a giant. Might be constructed playable, certainly arena playable.
Alright.
On to the legendaries.
So we got 5.
Yep, 5 of them, 1 for each wing. First we've got Moros. 3 mana, 1/1 stealth, with, at the end of your turn, summon a 1/1 steward. I think this card is junk.
Not a fan?
The reason why I'm not a fan is random missiles and any board sweepers exist in this game, and also 1/1/1 a turn is extremely slow.
Yeah, you're basically getting a air quotes infinite Imp Master. I think the stewards have no type. I'm going to assume the stewards have no type. Why would they have any?
Yeah, I'm we didn't actually see them. Like, I'd be more impressed if the stewards had an effect on them, but I don't think they have. I think they're just 1/1s. They don't have any effect, or they would have shown them off.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. I just assumed they're blanks. So.
I was talking with this guy about this guy with Omnicron in the zoo, and who told me that the actual boss was a guy who put out like bleed outs on you and damage over time. So I was actually thinking, like, what if the 1/1s were like leper gnomes, or at least like for 1 damage.
Yeah. So most classes in this game, even in the arena, like in the arena less so, but in the I don't think it's even worth talking about legendaries and their impact in the arena unless they're like, this is an auto pick, like one of the upcoming ones. Like most of the time, you don't see a legend in the arena, so it's not worth discussing. So outside of that, like almost every deck, I'd want to think a lot of decks have sweeping effects because of how prevalent, curving out in the first couple turns is in the game of Hearthstone.
I mean, fan of knives, and you're really sad for playing this card, but...
Right.
Or even, like, Wild Pyromancer.
Yeah, this card would be cool, but no, how about this card with Divine Shield Lady and Paladin?
So that's actually what you've reminded me of this. That was actually what I had thought of before, and I was trying to think of what the card was. Yeah, that's the one time I'd be okay with this, is you play her, you play this guy, give him Divine Shield so he's not dying so easily to, like, Sweeper, and then you're making 1/1 Divine Shields every turn.
Yeah, I think that's actually where this is probably best, because that's, like, again, if this has the Divine Shield, that's much harder to kill. And
right. The question is, though, I mean, I guess that would only have to be in standard, because, like, in a wild, why would you be playing this over muster for battle? for that kind of thing?
That's a quite fair question. For Wild, there's basically you wouldn't, because you have Quartermaster too. You know, you have reasons you'd want the Silverhand recruits.
Yeah.
So,
but
yeah.
But I guess you like him a little more than I do.
I a little bit, but that still puts him on like the lower end of playability. Like,
right.
So.
I mean, Paladin hero power is strong in Arena, but this is probably not that because it's dying to some kind of sweeper sometime.
Well, in the Arena, like I said, legends are very few and far between. So.
Yeah. So, anyways, on to the next guy. Barnes. 4 mana 3/4 with Battlecry. Summon a 1/1 copy of a random minion in your deck. Now, on the initial,
this is a constructed card.
Yeah, on the initial stream Blizzard showed, they said, "Oh, what happens if you play this and then you get a Antonidas out of your deck for only 4 mana and then start dropping spells?" But I don't like this card for combo decks, and here's the reason why: is because you need to draw this guy in your hand and also have the combo piece you need still in your deck, and that's not always so easy to do.
I think it's still okay there because, like, rather than thinking, I need my other piece in my deck and this in my hand, this is just a second copy of your combo piece. This lets you play 2 copies of Mal'Ganis. Yeah,
right.
or not Mal'Ganis, Malygos.
Yeah.
Like, this is, and if you, so say you're playing, like, the Shaman Ancestral Call Malygos deck, if you draw Malygos, you can just play Barnes, and then you don't have to Ancestral Call it. You can Ancestral Call it later. If you don't draw Malygos, you play Barnes, and it's like another copy of Ancestor's Call that doesn't just give your opponent a 5/5. But
right. Yeah, I mean, the other issue is that it's random to get what you're getting out of your deck. The actual deck I like this for, and I think is a deck that might want to play this, although I've had a number of people convince me that even those decks don't want to, is I think this is good in a Death Rattle deck. Because what happens if you just play this, your 4-drop, and I have a 1/1 Sylvanas, or a 1/1 Tyrion Fordring suddenly appears out of nowhere.
Or a 1/1, what is it, Twilight, the thing that makes a 5/5. I forget the name of it.
Oh, yeah. Legally binding documents.
Yeah, you get a 1/1 version of that 1/1.
Right. So, like, existing N'Zoth decks. But yeah, the problem is, where's the slot for putting this in?
I think that's still fun. Like, say you're playing, like, N'Zoth Paladin, you're going to have a lot of very powerful cards that this could pull out. Like, so, you know, because if you get a 1/1 Tyrion Fordring or a 1/1, like, that's probably that's the win there. But then you're always going to have the chance of, like, oh, whoops, 1/1 N'Zoth, this didn't do anything.
Right. And I mean, it still is. Well, Ben But Road put it a Yeti's worth of stats, but as we've seen with that 3/2 that summons an 0/5, that's not really a good measure for.
This is a little better
things
on that, because, like, we're not talking, like, an 0/5 and it's not split that far. Like, 3/4 and a 1/1 is a fair split there.
I guess a better comparison is an upgrade on Don't Mess with Tusker with +1/+1, but
yeah.
But
yeah, it's definitely not an upside, like, to be split stats, but it's not like this isn't. I don't think this is as bad as the Arcano Smith as far as split stats go. That's a lot worse setup. Yeah, I don't know. There's going to be combo decks that want this, I feel.
Yeah, but either combo pieces or Death Rattle cards is what you're going to be wanting to play this with. Yeah. All right. I guess we'll go on to the next card. Prince Malkizar. 5 mana, 5/6 demon. So we got a Pit Fighter there, and when the game starts, add 5 extra legendary minions to your deck. So I'm guessing this is the auto-include you were talking about for Arena.
Yeah, this is the one I was saying that if you see this as, like, as a legend in your arena, like, slam it down immediately, and then make sure your curve is hyper low, because you're just gonna have a bunch of your top end's just gonna be like, oh, whoops, I have a bunch of random hyper good legends at my top end, and sometimes it's like some bad one sneaks in there, and I got Lorewalker Cho, but, like. Also, it's a Pit Fighter.
Amusingly, though, you're playing with a 35-card deck in Limited, which means you're not drawing into your key 2 drops in removal, but
that's why I said I said you have to change your curve to affect it. Like,
right.
if you picked this, but you'd want to, like, you know, go lower and then all of a sudden have Prince, and it's like, oh no, now I have this deck that has all these bombs sitting aside.
Right. Let me ask this: would you 30th pick this?
It would depend on my deck.
Yeah.
They're honestly against a lot of legends in the abstract. Yes, because it's a pit fighter of stats, and a large number of legends are just like, you know, oh, it's a 9-drop, and that's not like, you know something like that, where this comes down on a reasonable time.
Hearthstone tells me, what did I just do here?
Ooh, that's a huge.
This might be post mulligan that it shuffles the cards in.
That's huge.
I need to.
Yeah, there are very few legends I would pick over this. Like, they do exist.
Yeah, after the mulligan was confirmed.
Whew, that's.
They will not be included in the mulligan, but may be drawn at the start of the first turn.
Like,
according to Young Woo.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that makes it stronger. Now, that said, definitely a immediate, like, pick arena card. I don't like this for constructed.
I'm assuming because of what you were talking about how this is curve affecting.
Not even that. This is like, I don't know if you've played with Golden Monkey, but you can often get cards that don't really do anything useful.
I've been there. Like, you know, I've won my 2 constructed decks I played before I kind of stopped playing after Whispers were both like kind of fatigue warrior and fatigue priest, and sometimes you just play Golden Monkey and it'd be like, oh, here's a bunch of garbage.
So you're shuffling like garbage in your deck, and not only that, you're taking up one of your deck slots with a pit fighter, which I'm sure a lot of decks aren't wanting either. Like, it's basically in constructed, probably just making any deck inconsistent. It is a nice thing for new players, just to be able to say, oh, I actually have some powerful cards in my deck. So it's good there. And then the other place I'd see it in constructed is, like, it is a piece of anti-mill deck, anti-fatigue deck tech.
I kind of feel like I would, like, so again, like I said, I've played Control, like, Fatigue Warrior, and I feel like there would be a build where this would be worth playing, but that's still uncertain, you know? Like, I don't, mostly because, like, it's the Fatigue Warrior isn't a deck that usually has the problems losing when it goes to Fatigue, you know?
Right. But, like, maybe for some kind of non-fatigue control deck, just so it's not losing fatigue scenarios. But
it also I guess would free up deck slots. Like, say you don't want to include finishers in there, you just include this. It's like, yeah, okay, you are at the mercy of randomness on your finishers, but you open up 4 deck slots that could be used for more control cards.
Right. Yeah, and I guess the last thing just to consider on here is, like, I don't think there's there's really a need for anti-fatigue, anti-mill tech right now, but, like, this is a card I just like existing. Just how Hungry Crab is a card I like existing, even though there's never been a need for it.
Right. I also like that this does a unique thing. You know, this does something no other. For one, no other card does anything like this. For two, it's something that only could work in a game like Hearthstone. There's no way something like this could exist in a paper game. Like, yeah, by the way, add 5 random cards into your deck at the beginning of the game. Like, that's... So...
Yeah. Also is, I think, only the second neutral card to be printed with the word demon on it.
Illidan and this?
I think so. I mean, Cult Master makes demons, but that doesn't say demon on the card. Anyways.
Yeah.
On to our next legendary, the Curator. 7 mana, 4/6 mech with taunt, and battle cry, draw a beast, dragon, and murloc from your deck.
Talking about cards that make new archetypes, this is an interesting one.
Yeah. So this is where they I guess, why we saw those Menagerie cards before. This is where the Menagerie archetype, I guess this is how you pull that together. You get all those from your deck, and then you play them out, and then you buff them all. But that said, I still have my doubts as to whether that's actually will work as an archetype. But and I thought to myself, like, what deck is actually playing all three of these that wants to do this? But thinking about this card more and hearing some people's reactions on it, then you realize, well, okay, think about, like, say, Paladin decks. What if it's draw a Kodo and like a Ysera and a Murloc Knight out of your deck?
Yeah, that was my first thought on seeing this. Wasn't like, my deck is full of beasts, full of dragons, full of Murlocs. This is a tutor.
Yeah.
I search my deck for Stampeding Kodo and put it in my hand. I search my deck for Bluegill Warrior, put it in my hand. I search my deck for whatever dragon you'd like, and you get to choose that at deck building. And yeah, sometimes you'll draw the card first, but
here's a more relevant question. Would a Malygos deck play this just as a second shot as drawing Malygos?
It depends on if you have the slots, but I would consider it. Well, not if you're playing Barnes. Not if you're playing.
Right. Like, no, I wouldn't do it with Barnes, but like, is this a more real consideration for a Malygos deck than Barnes? It is 7 mana, I think Barnes would be more useful for the deck for how quick it coming down quicker. Right.
Yeah. The 2/3 Murloc that has a deal 2 damage on it is another good Murloc to grab. There's enough good neutrals for this card to work in almost any class, and then within each class, some classes are going to have a much stronger time picking up, like you said, Murloc Knight, or if I was playing this as like a piece of top end in like a more top heavy, let's say a top heavy hunter deck, something that. Where this is like, well, it draws the beast might be completely random, but it's like, well, I get my one of Murloc, my one of Bluegill Warrior, and an Azure Drake.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Azure Drake, some Murloc, and then I don't know, like Savannah Highmane or something useful. There's no shortage of useful beasts in Hunter, but
right. So tutoring is something that doesn't exist in the game of Hearthstone. Often, or like we have it like very rarely when it's like Mad Scientist,
So I guess what makes or breaks this card then is the mana cost on here. I mean, 7 mana is technically that's sprint, so 4 cards, one of them being in play, but.
Yeah, like you have to be a deck that's surviving to the late game to even consider including this. Just off the back of I want to say one of the closest comparisons for this would be like Ancients of Lore pre-change.
Yeah, or I was almost kind of sort of thinking Neptulon.
Yeah,
but the thing is, how would you like this card if it said? I mean, it would be a totally different thing, because this is a tutor, but what if it said, add a random beast, dragon, and Murloc to your hand? I guess it's not really a good comparison, because it's a totally different card, but.
I was going to say, I don't think I would like it as much, because so, kind of going back to Prince Malchezaar, one of the things I like in Hearthstone is when we see legends like this that are a deck building puzzle. Reno Jackson's the obvious like poster boy for I'm a card that makes you change how you do deck building, but the Curator is also on that list of this changes how you consider you're building your deck if you decide to include this.
Right.
And it's I think this is a powerful effect that there should be decks that include it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm still thinking Paladin's probably the most likely candidate, but there are certainly others.
Yeah, Paladin was top of my list as well.
All right, I guess on to the next card. Medivh the Guardian, 8 mana, 7/7 with Battle Cry. Equip Atiesh. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Great Staff of the Guardian. So to really see what this card does, we'll have to scroll down just a bit to see Atish itself, which is a 1/3 weapon with, after you cast a spell, summon a random minion of the same cost, lose 1 durability. So basically he gives you 3 shots of summoning portal, even if he dies.
Yeah, so we have a, this is a way to kind of play around, you play your big card and it plays around removal by not immediately losing all of its value if it gets immediately answered by, like, a kill spell.
Yeah. So, I mean, 8 mana, 7/7, a 1/3 weapon, but if you're actually casting some big spell and it's turning into a guy, like the problem with Summoning Stone was, it just gets silenced or killed. A weapon is a lot harder to deal with.
Yeah. I'm not certain on playability, like what deck would want to include this, or what deck could come out of including this.
Basically anything that plays a lot of spells.
Like, so something that has a lot of top end, like, because you have to be a deck that wants to survive to 8.
Right.
And you'd have to be a deck that is casting reasonably expensive things, because you don't want to use your charges on 2-drop Frostbolt or something. You'd want them to be more like, I cast a Fireball and get a 4-drop out of it, or living the dream of, like, aha, Pyroblast plus a 10-drop, something like that. But, so, like, is this something that a mage would want?
I know Blizzard said, this is a buff for Mage and Priest, but I don't believe it.
See, I believe one of those two. This, honestly, this almost looks like a Mage class card in the first place, like.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I wonder how this works with spell cost reduction, like, I'd imagine the same way Summoning Stone does.
Yeah, Summoning Stone gives you the spell equal to whatever the cost of the card actually was, unless you're playing that one Tavern Brawl, where the Tavern Brawl rules override the rules of Hearthstone for some, like... Well, no, actually, I'm sorry. It actually... God, that Tavern Brawl fucks with me, because that Tavern Brawl, like, overrides the rules of Hearthstone correctly, so I don't remember how it works.
So,
cost reduction.
So let me, hold on a second.
Yeah. Try to find Summoning Stone. That's... Yeah, I think Harriet's basically got it. Even if we know how Summoning Stone works, maybe Atish works completely differently.
The mana cost of the summoned minion is determined by the actual amount of mana the player pays to cast the spell, including any cost modification effects. So, assuming that Atish works the same way, then...
Again, unless we're in the Tavern Brawl where you get a spell of the mana cost of the creature you play.
Right. So... That said, I think this is still, I mean, if you are playing just any spell-heavy deck, I don't think it has to be top-end heavy or low-end heavy spells, just a deck heavy in spells. I think this is probably fine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an amazing card that I'm wowed by, but it's a way they could do Summoning Stone without it being horrible.
It reminds me of Rafam in how it's kind of set up in its impact of, here's a big body, and then here's the second half of the card that's detached, so if your body gets answered, you still get
How about playing this with Rafam?
I mean, that'd be a funny curve. Medivh on 8, Rafam on 9, and then, like...
Oh, I guess the most relevant thing about this card is it says after you cast a spell. So, you could be playing this in Warlock, say your Medivh's dead, I don't know, drop a Doom or a Twisting Nether, and then get a minion after the board's cleared?
Yeah.
So, maybe that's the deck that wants to play this.
That's always been the problem with those Wrath of Gods, is that you spend your entire turn playing them and have absolutely no board to follow them up. That said, like, I don't know if one card is enough to fix that, but, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting an 8 or 10 drop after the wiped board and random. Like, Harriet says it could be Tyrion. Or, like, a 10-drop. Well, basically it's Deathwing, right?
I was it's Deathwing or
Deathwing.
Or it's
Or an old god.
Yeah, or an old god. There's more 10 drops than there used to be. Or a 10/10. Or a 10/10 with no text. Yeah, just get Yogg. Well, I think that's it for neutral cards.
Yeah. So I guess on to the oh no, this format's going to screw with me. Alright. Hold on. Some modifications being done in the studio.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's not doing the... I gotcha.
Alright. Class cards. So every class gets 2 commons and a rare. So we'll start with Druid. So we've got, first of all, the Enchanted Raven. 1 mana, 2/2 beast. That common.
That's it. That's the entirety of the card.
I think someone was telling me, it says something about the state of Hearthstone when a 1 mana 2/2 is one of the cards you're getting the most excited for. But I like this card. I mean, it's not Flame Imp and it's not Zombie Chow, but Beast Druid aggro is a thing, and this is a strong thing to play in. Basically,
I think the existence of Mark of Yasarj makes this card real alone. You know?
Right. How about it's a thing you're hitting your opponent in the face with that's, like, not immediately dying to a hero power, because, like, I think this is stronger than the old Leper Gnome was.
Izamaru, Raven of Kanda, yeah. Yeah. Blizzard has been trying to push Beast Druid for quite some time, and this is a card that might do it, though I think the next card might do it even more so.
Right. I've actually, just fill you in on a secret, I've been playing in Wild. My Druid deck right now is Beast Druid aggro. And it's actually worked to some decent effect. I might be pushing my luck by putting in a number of 5 drops, but I like snakes too much. But anyways, yeah, on to yet another Beast Druid support card, though. Oh, actually, I was gonna... One last thing on the Enchanted Raven before we go on is Arena card. Holy cow, Enchanted Raven is a good Arena card.
Yeah, I'm super happy with that, because it's very likely to... Sort of what you were saying. It's very likely to trade up, and it won't die to a ping hero power.
Yeah, and here's the other thing is, like, you're a Druid, so you've got a ping hero power to go with this.
Yeah, so you can take out any 2. Asterisk.
Right.
Like... Assuming it wasn't Millhouse Mana Storm or something like that, like you're golden.
Yeah. But anyways, now on to the next Druid card, though. The Menagerie Warden, 6 mana 5/5 with Battle Cry. Choose a friendly beast and summon a copy of it. So on its own, behind the curve on stats, if you've got the beast, though.
Well, there's this nice neutral beast from Corset, the 5/5 stealth for 5. That might be the most ridiculous curve with this card that you can have.
It's 5/5 stealth and then play 2 5/5s for 6, and suddenly, like, you're making Twin Emperor look bad.
You're making everything look bad there. Like, you just have 15 power on the board immediately, and, like, 2 of them are stealth and you can't do anything about. Like, I want to say this card is more designed to be like, you play Druid of the Claw on 5 and then this on 6, but Druid of the Claw on 5... like, they can target it, they can fireball it, they can hit it with minions, they can kill it. Tiger, they can't.
Yeah. How about, it has to be snakes on 5 and then this on 6?
Oh, that's even great. Like, if you have the 7/7, like, that's, like, I guess the thing is it is copying it, so, like, it's going to copy... Like, it's going to copy the card as is.
Yeah. Let's, I guess, get out of the Cloud Dreamland for a minute and think about the more realistic scenarios with this card. So, I mean, it often probably will just be a 6 mana 5/5, and you feel bad about it. In terms of other beasts, I mean, Druid has some good ones. Like, even getting another copy of, say, if you've got the really good 5/4 for 4, or suddenly your hero power's hitting for 5, or even the 3-mana Raptor.
What about like stealth?
Or sorry, the 3-mana, what's his name? The one that's the 3/2 that summons a 1-drop. Yeah.
Or like the 2-drop that's a stealth 3/2. You know, things like that. There's a lot of good beasts in the class for it to copy. So effectively, in the right deck, if there's just anything on the board, you just get a second copy of whatever's on the board.
Oh yeah, this works with Bran as well.
That's some overkill there.
Yeah, I mean, other good beasts, Cobra, I'd be fine with as well, copying that. The 2/3 Cobra that Death Rattle kills something, or Death Touches rather.
Yeah. So also a common, like, so if we're talking in the arena, like this is a pretty high reason to want to be like Beast Druid in the arena.
I mean, it just makes beasts all the more important in Druid, but I guess they wanted Druid to be able to compete with Mage's Faceless Summoner. When this works, it competes even better, but I still think Faceless Summoner is better in general because of this doesn't always work, but yeah, that's probably an unfair comparison as well.
I mean, the Faceless Summoner might be like the best 6-drop that exists in the arena.
Short of like Emperor Thaurissan.
That's why I said
happen to me.
Well, I say when I say in the arena, I mean like ignoring legends like that, where it's like, my opponent played Sylvanas, you know.
I mean, Boulder Fist Ogre is still pretty strong, good too, but
right.
Or 9/9 Boulder Fist Ogre, but yeah, but this is definitely up there in 6-drops. And speaking of 6-drops, on to our next card, the Moonglade Portal. So this is the first card of a cycle of portals, all of which are spells that summon a random minion of a specified cost. So this one is restore 6 health, and that can go to you or a minion, and summon a random 6-drop. So a 6-drop for 6, and something else on top of it. The downside of randomness.
We're getting Holy Light, so about 2 mana's worth of healing for on top of that, and then you get the 6-drop.
Harrion, I think this is a rare, because if this was a common, this would be ludicrously strong in the arena.
Yeah, this one...
But, this is a good portal. Like, heal up your heavily damaged minion, or even yourself. 6-drop. Now, what's the spread on 6-drops? I know Gnome Bitten did that whole spread of stats on expected for a 5-drop, but
we did the expected drop on 5. On 6, I think we're expecting about a 5/5. Like I say that without actually doing the math, so I'm kind of talking out of my, just pulling a number out of a hat. But that's what I'm expecting out of this is a 5/5.
Let's see if they actually have any stats on this.
Yeah, I love knowing those stats. Like, there was a time when Sneed's Old Shredder was printed that the expected value out of Sneed's Old Shredder was a Sneed's Old Shredder. Like, as far as stats go.
No, they just have a giant table of every 6-drop in Standard.
Oh, that's not what I'm looking for, and it's even Standard, which isn't where I want the numbers from.
Right, we want it for Arena.
So what's your? I guess what are the outliers then? I think if we're talking.
I've seen the Living the Dream and the Absolute Suck for the 5-drops, but I haven't. So I guess,
on 6, I see Corrupted Seer as the bottom barrel.
So I mean, Boulder Fist Ogre, always a solid one. Or heck, Dark Arakoa, but so what do we have? Yeah, Faceless Summoner is a 5/5, or Frost Elemental. There's Nerubian Prophet would be a bad one to get off of this.
Well, even that that's still if we're expecting a 5/5, that's just a slight downgrade. Basically, I think the stats on this is especially with the heal. So say I'm not a huge fan of cards that heal and do nothing else in any game. But this is like the equivalent of something like a Thragtusk style thing, you know? It's healing on a like obviously it's not like Thragtusk in the sense that
I'm not sure it goes that far, but like
I mean it's a body plus health. Yeah. It's actually I guess the best comparison would be Justice.
Yeah. Or even like if you're getting something smaller, Healbot, but it can also, the big difference is it can heal minions. Like also, that can be huge.
Also is a spell, which I think is generally an upside on a card.
Like, did you have a nearly dead Bog Creeper? Now you have a full health Bog Creeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corrupted Seer is looking like one of the worst, and then the best no, you could roll Mogor's Champion, but oh wait, that doesn't affect you. Savannah Highmane seems a pretty good one to get out of there. Sunwalker, Argent Commander,
Dark Arakoa.
Cabal Shadow Priest is a little underwhelming, but still a 4 or 5. Heck, you could get Kaldara Drake on other classes. That's our own Druid, which I'm not sure. Kidnapper is probably a poor one to get out of there. And
basically, I think I'm going to play this and expect it to give me a 5/5, and most of the time I'm not going to be disappointed because, like, you're very unlikely to get something worse than that.
Yeah, and there's even some good ones. Cairn, Thorison, Hogger. Okay, True Heart would be underwhelming, but Sylvanas, the Beast. I guess Mist Caller's another poor one to get out of there, and Wilfred Fizzlebang is also a pretty poor one to get out of there, but okay. So we've done the stat spread on that one. And, yeah, again, just a note, random. You can get out-of-class stuff on all of these portals. It's not Discover.
Yeah.
Alright. Shall we go on to Hunter?
Yes, I think we shall.
So first we've got the Kindly Grandmother. 2 mana, 1/1 beast, with Death Rattle, summon a 3/2 Big Bad Wolf, which, scrolling down, is a beast.
Yes.
So this compares a bit to Haunted Creeper and Nerubian Egg in some ways. What you get out of it is sort of in between them, but it's a 1/1 on the front end.
Right, able to attack, which... And a beast on both sides, which isn't true on Haunted Creeper.
No.
Haunted Creeper makes ghost spiders.
Now, which would you like better? A 3/2 that makes a 1/1 or a 1/1 that makes a 3/2?
I'm going to say the 1/1 that makes a 3/2 because I want to, like, play this, my opponent plays their 2 or their 3, and then I play, like, Abusive Sergeant, etc., and bump off their creature.
Yeah, that's real in aggro deck with Abusive Sergeant.
I think this is strong both in the arena and in constructed.
There are Death Rattle Hunter decks. You can make this bigger with the guy that buffs your Death Rattle cards. You could do some sort of Feign Death shenanigans with this, or
Princess Huhuran gets you a free
Big Bad
trigger,
Wolf.
right?
Yeah. I don't know if you'd want to run this in the Zoth deck. That might be pushing it because it's a 1/1.
But like, just as a hunter, like, it's a beast. Having this card around makes it a lot easier for Houndmaster to go off because, like, you know, if this dies, you have another beast.
Right, both sides are beast. I guess my question is, how do I feel about this in arena versus other 2-drops? It's not giving you the immediate trade you want to stay ahead on board is, I think, part of a problem with this, but
but it has a secret trade behind it.
Right.
I think this card's power in the arena probably depends on things like Abusive and such.
Yeah, which is more of Abusive being really good, but maybe this could be playable. I mean, Haunted Creeper is actually, I think, statistically one of the best 2-drops in the arena, so...
I was going to say, I think playable is underrating this card by a high margin in the arena. I'd heavily play this in the arena.
I mean, there are a lot of good 2-drops in Arena right at this point, but
Yeah.
I guess I'll wait and see how this one does.
I'm very happy. Honestly, I'm very happy as a whole with Hunter in this.
Right. So I guess on to the next Hunter card, which this one is definitely a strong card. Cloaked Huntress, 3 mana, 3/4, which is a spider tank I would play any number of, and hey, Hunter. I guess, you know the mage card, the, what is it, the Ethereal Arcanist, the 3 mana 4/3, that,
Kirin Tor Mage.
Or, sorry, right, I always get those two confused. Kirin Tor Mage, 3 mana 4/3, that says your next secret this turn costs 0. So this is just a straight upgrade on its effect, and it's also a 3/4, which is probably the better body.
Right. Like, I love this thing. Like,
I mean, yeah, mage secrets cost more, but still. This is good for being a spider tank, and
also it's a spider tank that just says play your explosive trap and your bear trap immediately and pass the turn. You know.
Right. Will this see constructed play? I guess is a question of are there enough hunter decks that want to be running secrets.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, if you've got Eaglehorn Bow, possibly.
Diet Mysterious Challenger. Yeah, I mean that's a little silly if you like made the whole Christmas tree with this card, but the fact that it can reduce more than one secret in the same time is like that's such a huge mana advantage.
Yeah. And speaking of secrets, onto the Hunter's Rare this set, Cat Trick. I think this is the first. No, this is not the first Hunter secret that doesn't say trap on it, because we've had Snipe and Misdirection, but this is furthering that Hunter has secrets that can trigger on basically whatever you do. For basically secrets for everything, because now we have, I mean, it was a little ridiculous when they made one, the Dart Trap, that affects your hero power, and now it's, okay, well, what's left that you can do safely into Hunter cast spells? No.
Counterspell.
Cat Trick. After your opponent casts a spell, summon a 4/2 Panther with Stealth. So it's a Jungle Panther for 1 less. That just needs your opponent to cast a spell first.
Yeah. I think this might be one of the few cards we've seen that is more of a constructed thing than not. A lot of the time, Arena is decided by curving out into minions. 1, 2, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not one as much, but like 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's hard for you to spend the time unless you have something like Cloaked Huntress to want to take the time off to do something that might just never happen early.
I'd do it. So, I'd play this, and I think part of the reason why is there's a good chance the coin could come down into the face of this, like, after you've had your turn 2. Like, if your opponent coins into a 2, you're out of luck, but if you play this on 2 and your opponent coins into a 4...
Yeah, and then you just have this. Yeah.
And also mentioned with Flame Strike as well. Flame Strike sweeps your board, and then you get a 4/2.
I like that part of it. Like, it is sort of since it's after they cast the spell, I'm assuming the timing is this dodges Flame Strike, so it gives you a bit of insurance. Yeah. No, I'm all up on. I like all 3 of Hunter's cards here. I think Cloaked, like, I'm not sure if Cloaked Huntress is my favorite, but I think that might just be my like a spider tank. I think Kindly Grandmother's the actual strongest. I think
Cloaked Huntress is the best. In my opinion, is the strongest, at least for probably Arena. Grandmother might be better in Constructed. I think Cat Trick is my favorite, but Cat Stream.
Cat Stream.
Anyways, on to Mage. So Mage is very strong in Arena, so clearly we don't need to give it anything good, so we'll just give it some bad cards, right? That's what's going to happen here, right?
That's fine. We don't have anything good for it. So let's start off with a little thing about Mage. When they were talking about the second and third card, they said, we gave it Firelands Portal and we gave it Babbling Book, but its third card is definitely not good in the Arena So let's take a look at the third one first. Medivh's Valet.
Okay. Medivh's Valet. Okay, 2 mana, 2/3, common. Sure, that's reasonable. Battle Cry. If you control a secret, well, that'll never happen. Deal. That does say 3. Huh.
It does.
Deal 3 damage. Fire Elemental, for 2 mana.
This is like
3 damage,
This is very silly. So, okay, we have River Crocolisk. Perfect. A+. I'll play any number. Like, I will play River Crocolisk up to like 10 copies in my arena deck. And then if you just have a secret. Oh, by the way, this is like Necrotal.
To be fair, you're never having the secret on 2.
No, that can't happen in Mage.
I mean, unless you're doing something incredibly.
Coin into Mad Scientist, trade it off, and then Right.
I mean, Secret Mages and wildly doing some really silly things with this, but
right. We were talking up above at Avian Watcher, saying like, oh, is this a card like you'd want to play in the arena because it's hard to control a secret for it to work? The difference I want to bring up is that Avian Watcher on its front is a 3/6 no text, which is not actually that efficient for a 5. This is a 2/3 for 2, which is absolutely efficient.
Right. And I mean, even if you're not getting the maximum value of the card on 2, you can still just play it on 2 as something on curve on 2.
It's very important to curve in the arena. Like, it's so incredibly important to be able to put pressure on your opponent by playing, just River Crocolisk, just Spider Tank, just generic minion on 2, on 3. And then if you draw this later and you're like, oh, it's turn 5, I play Mirror Entity, also I play, like, Bolt your guy.
Right. Or you can even go Dome.
This can go Dome. This can just be the last 3. Mage is very commonly said to be the best class in the arena, and I don't think that's really something that gets Rogue gets put up as another one, but I think Mage is still the best. And now let's I guess, is this a card you'd talk about it in a different way? Is there like a constructed deck you'd play this in? I don't think so. But again, like Ice Block.
I would highly consider this in Tempo Mage and Wild. I think with Mad Scientist, you easily have a secret around, and then 2 mana, 2/3 that's dealing 3 damage to something is such a huge tempo play.
That's very true. That's in Wild. I'd believe that. Basically, in a format you have Mad Scientist around, all of a sudden this comes down and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, this is my play on 4. I deal 3 to that, and I still have Frostbolt up.
Yeah, Arena. I guess how ludicrously strong this card is when it works is offset by the fact that it's hard to get a secret, and many secrets you won't even want to draft. But
the trick is we're not talking about like a 1/2. We're not talking about even a 2/2. Like, you have to pay for the effect by losing some of the effect. No,
you would draft this card possibly even if you don't have any secrets. Yeah. And if you do have secrets, well,
sweet.
Yeah, no, it's good. Speaking of good cards,
did
more to
Mage
say
get
about
any
the
more
Valet?
Help? No, I was just say, did Mage get any more help in the arena?
I'm certain it didn't. Let's look at the next card. Firelands Portal. 7 mana spell. So deal 5 damage. Oh, that can go phase 2. Summon a random 5-cost minion. So the average on a 5-cost, this one's been done looked at extensively, is, I think it's a 4/5 in Wild, and it's like a 4.5 in Standard.
Yeah, we're usually talking a Yeti, and I actually think 4/4 is the most common as far as like the mean goes.
No, the mode is definitely 4/4. There's lots and lots and lots of those. Yeah. So 7 mana for a 4/5 that deals 5 damage. I mean, okay, let's give Mage a Fire Elemental, sure. For 7, that does more damage, but it's a smaller body. that said, for 5-cost minions, there is some variance here. The worst things that can pop out is Starving Buzzard is a 3/2. Big Game Hunter is a 4/2. There's also the one that I think cares.
We have the mech that cares about mech dying. Junk.
Oh yeah, no, Junkbot is probably one of the worst things. That's a 1/5, I think.
Yeah, 1/5.
On the other hand, though, you could be living the dream here, because also possible to pop out of this is there were 2 cards that had well, one is Doomguard without downside. And the other one, I want to say it was a big taunter, but I don't
Earth
know.
Elemental?
You're right, Earth Elemental, another card with downside that you're not getting the downside on.
Yeah, I want to say, like, yeah, so the top end of this is, like,
and Leroy Jenkins, Harriet mentioned, that's the third one.
Well, you put your opponents on 11, you just dome them with this, and then, oh, whoop, Leroy pops out. Like,
right. Leroy also without downside, but...
Yeah, no downside. So this is there are some misses and there are some incredible hits, but on average, like, you're getting a 4/4, 4/5, and this is nuts. Like, we get, again, mage, the rich get richer, as it is in the arena. This is a come from behind card. This is a card that seals a game. Like, you know, the last 5-6 points of burn to kill your opponent. This is a card that lets you put enough pressure on the board where it's, oh, the board was even, you lose your best minion, I get an incredible minion. Like,
I guess, remember how I was talking about how I liked the 6-mana 3/3 that removes something temporarily? So this is, like, often just a Necrotal that's bigger.
Yeah, this... I guess compared to that card, this looks much stronger for a common.
And I think that one was a rare.
Yes. Neutral, but yeah.
Yeah, this is really good. And Mage's last card, the rare, the Babbling Book. 1 mana 1/1 with Battle Cry, add a random mage spell to your hand. So sort of compares to, like, Novice Engineer, but 1 cheaper. In terms
generating cards.
Generating cards and just putting a tiny little pog on the board. So it's good. Random spell, I mean, it could be something useful or something useless, but you do have to consider mage spell is, or it says random mage spell, and mage spells are generally strong. Not as strong as Discovering, but...
Right. You know, it's not like mage spell is, you know, you're going to hit every time, because Shatter exists, you know, things like that. You're going to have these spells.
Shatter, Ice Lance, and so on and so forth.
But then it could be like Babbling Book for, you know, like, you know, for something worthwhile. Is this something that you would want to play in... yeah, this is sort of like the... Huzzah brings up the Hunter Spider that gives you a random beast. This is a pretty comparable to that, right?
Oh, yeah,
like,
Web Spinner.
Yeah.
Web Spinner saw play, but... Web Spinner was also a beast, though, and that was relevant for a lot of it.
Right. Well, this is also relevant because, you know, spell matters, and we've seen cards that make that.
Right. So, hard to say. It's probably definitely a good card. I think I like it more for Constructed than Arena.
Right. In the, like, this is the weird thing, is, like, I don't really understand why this is a rare and Firelands Portal is a common, especially because it's not like it's not like the portals are all at common. We saw the Druid portal at rare. Like, they did consciously choose to make certain portals at rare, and they consciously chose to put this one at common, you know, instead of the Babbling Book.
I would probably switch their rarities, but I don't know.
Yeah.
This isn't a rare I feel good about picking in the arena, but...
It's true. The book could even be a Firelands portal.
Like, I don't know how you feel about a top deck and against your opponent you just get this and you're like, oh. And then it's like, did I roll into a Polymorph? No, I rolled into a Shatter.
Well, it also, like... I think for a rare it's fine. Like, especially, like, in that situation you say, you know, do I play this card that's like, I just need 3 points of burn. Is this, you know, and there's a lot of, that's actually a pretty sizable chunk of mage.
Another sizable chunk of mage cards is secrets, though, so.
But yeah, that's certain.
And not knowing what you're getting. I mean, a discover would be I just need this many points of burns, but just a random card is...
Right. This card does remind me a lot of the book from Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
Just the floating book. I don't know.
Don't talk to him 3 times unless you want to lose your Hearthstone collection. But, anyways.
That's Mage.
Yeah, so Mage definitely didn't get any good cards, right?
No, we're like Mage is probably like 7th in the arena now, so you'll never see them again. It's fine. The world is safe.
Speaking of classes that definitely aren't good in the arena, right? Paladin. So first we've got the Nightbane Templar, a 3-mana 2/3, which is behind curve with Battlecry. If you're holding a dragon, summon 2 1/1 whelps. So I think the obvious comparison here is if you've got the dragon, it's an upgrade on Don't Mess with Tusker, as you get an additional 1/1.
Yeah, that's a very easy comparison, seeing as it's the exact same stats with 1/1/1.
That said, though, because, like, I don't think this would ever play... Yeah, that is actually 4 power for 3 mana and 5 toughness in the arena. Or, sorry, not in the arena. I mean, in total. But, I mean, like, in Constructed, I'm not sure there's room in Dragon Paladin to want to play this.
That's probably the biggest thing, is finding a slot for this. This is pretty... I honestly think this card is pretty strong, because this is a lot of... you know, that is a lot of power on the board, you know?
And then, in the arena, it's a non-dragon, and we talked about the problems of holding a dragon.
Yeah. Like, in the arena, you don't want to be playing a 2/3. You want to play something on curve, but you don't really want to be playing a 2-drop on 3.
Actually, you know what? This is a 3-drop in Constructed. No, this is actually, I think, good for Dragon Paladin and Constructed, and here's why. So, muster for battle, except instead of a weapon, one of them's a 2/3.
Yeah, that's actually, pretty real. Like I said, I'm not certain, like, I don't have a lot of knowledge of how Constructed plays out, or like how good Dragon Paladin is, but I think I'd agree that this is something that you want to have early. I
think with muster existing, this is probably not good enough for Wild, but I think this could be very strong in Standard.
Yeah.
Potentially. Now that I think about muster. I guess part of what was good was muster was you got 1 damage immediately off of it, but even still. Yeah, muster's better, but this is strong. Holding a dragon is the downside. I don't think it's very good in arena, though.
Right. Again, it's very... It's difficult to get dragons in the arena, and it only gets harder.
If you've got it, though, and you play this on 3 in the arena, you feel like a champ.
Like, honestly, I think the best comparison for this, like, if you play it in the arena, is getting something like a Imp Gang boss, you know? Like, you just get the 1/1s immediately.
Yeah. Now for next card, Silver Moon Portal, the Paladin Portal, 4-mana spell, because Paladins get lots of stuff at 4. Give a minion +2/+2, summon a random 2-cost minion. So it's you take your Blessing of Kings, take off half of it, and get a random 2-drop. Now the actual spread on random 2-drops, this is something more established, because this is what you're getting out of a Shredder.
Yeah, so this is known information.
Right, so you could be getting a Doomsayer out of there. But you could be getting a,
Millhouse
Mana Storm out of there, or a Succubus.
Yeah, you know, the who's driving the piloted Shredder has been the game for quite some time. I want to say this is just...
Right, you could get Librarian would be very good, and you could get Darnassus Aspirant, which would be bad.
Yeah, this just seems fair. Like like, you know, we're the buff is small, the minion's small. It's a lot of board presence, and but it only functions if you already have board presence, which is kind of that's how Paladin works. Yeah, one of the common sayings, never suffer a paladin minion to live because of things like this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I like it more than Blessing of Kings in situations where I've got a guy who just needs a small buff to be able to punch down an enemy guy without dying, because then you're also making more board with it.
Right, so you have a spider tank, they play a Yeti, you play this, your spider tank becomes a 5/6, you bump the Yeti off and have a 2-drop and have a 5/2 left over, so...
Yeah. Alright, so yeah, I think it's a fine card, and as for constructed, maybe some aggressive Paladin decks, maybe as... I know there have been people who've messed around with as a joke deck buff Paladin, but it just plays like Genie in every card that's good with buffs, but that's, I don't know if that's a serious deck, but aggro, I mean, it does cost 4, but +2/+2 is...
I was just saying, I guess the question would be, do they want more copies of Blessing of Kings? Because I assume a lot of those decks would want Blessing of Kings first, right?
Yeah, I'd imagine. I mean, it's less damage immediately if you're top decking this. Is saying I just need this many points for the kill. But
right.
Anyways, on the other hand, unlike a shred or something might actually be happening with your Bluegill Warrior, you could get out of this. But
yeah, if you play this with Genie, you should get another 2-drop because it just copies the spell, right?
Yeah.
Should.
Does Genie copy the whole spell and all of its effects?
What's the name of that card?
Genie of Zephyrus.
Gin of Zephyrus. I'm pulling it up on my end, and I'll find the text exactly to see if it copies the spell. Cast a copy of it on this one, so yes.
Okay, so you'd get another 2-drop. That's interesting. So,
alright.
Anyways, and on to Paladin's Rare, which is a weird card. The Ivory Knight. 6 mana 4/4 with Battle Cry, discover a spell, restore health to your hero equal to its cost. So I guess the dream here is, I discover Lay on Hands and gain 8 life off that, and then gain 8 more life and draw 3 cards. More realistically, though,
yeah,
it's not so then it's like, it's a crazy heal bot, but more realistically, looking at statistics, about 1/3 of Paladin's spells cost 1 mana.
However, that doesn't mean this is just going to show you, like, the stats on this actually pan out to being something like, I from memory, something like 2% to actually show you 3 1-drops.
Right.
Like it's very rare that this is going to be like womp womp, because we kind of know how Discover plays. The first comparison this card gets is Ethereal Conjurer, but you have to consider that Paladin spells versus Mage spells.
And I think, like, after that point, I think, like, besides, like, 33% being, like, 1-drops, I think it's something crazy, like, 80% of its spells cost 4 or less.
Yeah, but, well, still, a lot of, you're still going to, like, feel fine grabbing a 4 off of this.
The thing is, I guess what I'm saying there is, you're not really playing this much for the life gain. You're playing it for, it's a 4/4 that pulls you a spell. So, that said, like, this ain't Ethereal Conjurer, because Paladin spells are not anywhere in the same tier as Mage spells, but...
I think this is still really strong, and I expect this to... If Paladin can see play, this is a card that I see with it, because if this is I think of this as Azure Drake with a lot more upside. You pay 1 extra mana, you get to control what the spell is, you get some extra health. I tend to like generating cards over drawing random ones.
Yeah, I think I don't really want to play this in Constructed. I might play this in Arena. It is a rare.
I'd play this in Arena every time, because I always like interaction, and anything that says discover a spell, like, count me in, boss.
Right. I might just get, even if it's a 1-mana spell, like, okay, Humility, well, that's enough of a removal I need here.
Right. I think what you want is something like Hammer of Wrath, or Blessing, or even the Silvermoon Portal that we just things. If your opponent gains 10 life off of this, don't worry, the spell is worthless.
How's your opponent gaining 10 life off of this?
Anything?
Oh.
Or,
Right,
yeah,
right. Sorry, right. You sing this out of your opponent. Okay.
yeah.
You could just pick the anyfin if you want to gain 10 life, even if the anyfin doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can at max like just gain 10 off of this if you don't want the spell to do anything.
Yeah, I still don't think Constructed really wants this or anything, but
I'm a big fan of flexibility. So
yeah. Anyways, on to Priest. So this is where Priest becomes good, right? So actually, let me. I'd like to pull up a statement by Blizzard before I. This is from Iskar on the Hearthstone development team, posted on Reddit.
I haven't read this one. Let's.
We've had articles in the past about design stories for particular cards. I think the most recent one I remember discussed the design iterations that Yogg went through. Card designs have a number of different goals. Sometimes these goals are immediate competitive play, and sometimes they shoot for something else. Things like flavor, arena viability, or sprinkling tools for a new or existing archetype. Okay, so fine so far. In smaller sets, it can be a little risky to take a gamble on a new toolkit because there are fewer cards to work with. In the case of Priest, we're pretty happy with the amount of options the class was getting from neutrals, Barnes, Curator, Medivh, Dragon cards, to do some testing with new archetypes that a certain particular card that I'm not going to say the name of could be a part of. And I'm not going to read the rest of that, but okay. So Priest was saved by the neutral cards. We can do whatever we want to experiment with the class ones, right? That's how this works, right?
So the quick of it, I'm sure y'all have seen Purify. If you haven't, here's Purify.
Yeah. So Purify, 2-mana spell, silence a friendly minion, draw a card. So this, I think, is an utter and complete failure of design, because I guess you could say, well, it's a very situational card, like, oh, if your opponent freezes you or makes you follow the rules or plays a debuff, okay, you get rid of it. I understand the flavor of Purify, and then you draw a card. So, like, okay, it's like Flare, situational thing, but you can cycle it, so it doesn't really need to do anything all the time. The problem is, this doesn't even cycle unless you've got a guy out.
Alright, I think I was having a discussion with a couple friends a couple days ago about what was my number one card I would never pick in the arena. Like, what is the card that there isn't a chance I would pick it, given it's against every other card in the game? And I came up with Shatter. Shatter's at the very bottom. It's the bottom card. It absolutely does not beat any other card. And then,
I thought it won.
I was going to say, that was about an hour before Purify was spoiled.
No, actually, I was going to say Gang Up, but...
That doesn't ever come up. Like, you can't have that choice in the arena. This was given the choice of, like, I would probably pick, like, given those two against each other, like, Gang Up has an effect, Shatter doesn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, this isn't the Shatter Time stream. But then they printed this, which I actually think has taken that place, like, at the bottom. Like, this card doesn't do anything and actively harms you most of the time.
Makes your Eerie statue playable.
Man,
no.
Wait. So you're telling me that for 4 mana, I get a 7/7, and then I have to pay 2 mana later for this? Wow, that sounds like a good card.
No. This is junk. So my biggest issue with this is you've got a card called Silence that's 0 mana, silence a minion. You've got a card called Mass Dispel that's 4 mana and says silence all minions, draw a card. You've got this. Why does this say friendly? This is like perfectly between those other two cards. Why does it say friendly?
I don't understand that part of it. People have been talking about, like, lowering the costs on this to make it more, playable as far as, like,
Mass Dispel says enemy, not all, but
yeah. Okay. This should really just say silence on minion draw card, and I know
they've been, like, pushing for, well, silence is too strong, that's why they nerfed Owl, and, like, Owl is, you pay 3 mana to silence thing for a guy that's probably dying to a hero power. But Harry and I were talking the other day about Owl versus, like, a fixed Purify that says silence a minion, and Owl's still arguably stronger because it gives it to classes that actually can aggro and is a body on the board. Like, Priest is not a class you're worrying about going hyper aggro and just silencing something out on the cheap.
Right, they don't have 2 and 3 drops in class that they want to be playing.
So,
like, most of the time.
Why does this not say... Why does it say friendly? So
I don't know. There's been... I think a lot of people have said a lot of words about this to the same effect, and I definitely am with you in echoing that this is absolute garbage.
And we could argue till our faces are blue about how to rework this, but I think in all the words that have been said about this card, I think the one we'll just stick with is bad.
Oh yeah. Well, let's see if Priest was saved by the other 2 cards.
Okay. So next we've got Priest of the Feast. 4 mana 3/6 with whenever you cast a spell, restore 3 health to your hero. I don't think this is constructed playable, but I like this a lot for the arena. That's a water elemental with stats.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3/6 is good stats, and also that ability is non-trivial. Like,
right, Priest is actually a reactive class.
Being able to self-heal for nothing.
It's a reactive class. You're dropping your spells and you're healing off of all of them. It's like nobody's rushing you down.
Yeah, in constructed this kind of has problems because, for one, like another 4-drop. For 2, it kind of actively is harmful with like, you know, you can't play this in Oknai or else you're just going to completely own yourself.
You could play this with big guys and am I becoming choppy?
Yeah, things are becoming choppy. That's all right.
I've dropped frames too. Is it better now, or am I still choppy?
It's better now.
Okay, my internet must have spiked for a second.
Yeah, the quality got quite bad for a moment, but it's getting better. It's fine.
Okay, we're good. So yeah, I mean, you can't Oknai circle, but you could just straight up circle after punching things down with this. I mean, it's not the greatest, but
I don't know. Big, like, in the arena, I'm a big fan of this. You know, big toughness, 3/6 body. Like, all right, this has a lot of hallmarks of a card I'm fine with in the arena. It's just in constructed, I don't think this does.
Yeah, it's a card I like. It just doesn't do enough for Priest in constructed.
Yeah.
And probably that exact same sentiment, I think I can say for the Priest's Rare as well, which we'll go on to. The Onyx Bishop. 5 mana 3/4 with Battlecry. Summon a random friendly minion that died this game. So, resurrect.
Yeah, I think the designers like Resurrect a lot more than any other player in the game.
So, I mean, yeah, you can get the total whiff, but, I mean, I guess this compares in the arena to, like, if you're, say, getting, like, a 2/2 or something off of it. It's slightly worse at rare. Squire Attend Me.
Yeah.
If you're getting something big off of it, though, it's potentially a lot stronger.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this because in the arena a lot of the time, this is probably going to be equal to or better than Squire Attend Me, you know? And if it's better, then perfect. You know, if I say I play like a Shredder on 4, trade, and then get that Shredder back, like, all of a sudden I'm in... Right. Great. But if I get like the 2/3 that I played off the Shredder, I'm still fine.
Right.
Like,
or even like you're just dropping this thing late in the game and, oh, I get my 6/10 back.
The sort of problem I see with this, if I'm looking at outside of Harry just summed it up and took the words out of my mouth. I was going to talk about this in constructed if you wanted to do some sort of resurrect deck. Like, you're playing a resurrect that makes every resurrect past it awful. You know, like.
Yeah, so it would be like a one of in place of the card resurrect itself.
No, that's great. I'm glad that that I'm not just alone in thinking that for the construct.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't think I'd make a resurrect deck that's got like 2 resurrects and 2 of this guy in it. I think I would like have a deck that works well with resurrect and put in 1 resurrect, or if not in resurrect, 1 of this guy.
Oh, one other thing I do want to say about this card. This isn't templated right, so that's nice.
Why? It doesn't say random?
Doesn't say random.
There was another one I think we saw that did that as well. I don't remember if it was one of the Menagerie cards or
Yeah, like it's just weird to see like off templating in a game where you can very easily just make it correct.
Right.
Like it's not like we misprinted the card and it came out of the factory wrong, like a magic card that forgot to have the artifact subtype or something like that. Hearthstone is bad about wording. It's true. It's one of the things that sort of gets me is I like consistency, and just menageries both say random.
Yeah, I don't know what I was looking for then, but
anyway.
Yeah, I read random, but it doesn't actually. I want to know if that's just it could be the wiki being wrong, but it does say in the text too. But
right, that could be.
I mean, because we have had this is revealed on a stream of like sign up reveal initially previewed in a foreign language, but I think this was one of the ones from Blizzard's stream and they did in English where they revealed the remaining half of the set. So, yeah, templating. What's templating? Anyways, on to Rogue, another class that's pretty hard hit for needing stuff in constructed, although is in a very good spot in Arena.
Yes.
So let's see how they make it bad for Arena and help it for constructed, and by that I mean do the exact opposite. Before we get into these, I think this is solving the exact problems that Rogue didn't need. It gives it some good Arena cards and some bad constructed cards. So, the good Arena card, which is the one I think we're getting out of the way, and the only card here I actually think is good, Swashbuckler. 1 mana, 1/1 pirate, with Battle Cry, add a random class card to your hand from your opponent's class. So, Huckster was a good card. This is like... So if Huckster is like the improvement on Loot Hoarder, this is the improvement on Novice Engineer.
I kind of think of this like the book we just saw.
Like a web spinner?
No. Like this, it's almost the same as the book. Like,
right. And which we compared the book to web spinner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
So,
heck, it even has a tribal type.
Right. I'm having trouble thinking if Pirate Warrior or Pirate Rogue is where you want to be. I think it's still the Warrior for that 3/4, but and the first mate, but I don't think this will make Pirate Rogue viable, but this is a strong card.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this as much as I'm about the same as I am the fan of the book, because I really like generating cards, and like this gives you something very good to play early. So yeah. if you pick this in the Arena, it's always drawing a mage card, so it's exactly a book. Well, this can make a minion as well, so this could actually make you a water elemental in the Arena.
Yeah, or does mage have bad minions?
That's the trick. They kind of don't. Like,
yeah, okay, right. They're mage.
Like what's a bad mage minion look like? Because I'm going through their list of, like, okay, we've got Sorcerer's Apprentice. We've got they're all like fine.
A 3 mana 3/3 with spell damage 1 is about the worst you're getting.
Yeah,
and that's not a bad card. Anyways. But bad cards mentioned, card I'm not a big fan of, Deadly Fork. 3 mana, 3/2, which you're behind the curve on that. Death Rattle, add a 3/2 weapon to your hand. Now, the issue here, if we're scrolling down to the tokens, the Sharp Fork, the weapon, costs 3 mana.
This compares unfavorably to things like the weaponsmith, the
Arathi weaponsmith.
Arathi weaponsmith. Like, when I saw this card, I thought, oh man, is this gonna be like give me a fiery war axe to my hand? That's really nice. 3 mana is what. We're talking Arena. I actually think the card's fine.
I mean, you're getting well behind curve on tempo, which is a big problem, especially for Rogue, which is a tempo class. But you are getting value asterisk out of it because it's a body and then it's 2 shots of a weapon. The problem is that Rogue already has a weapon that you can get at will. This is really just a cold blood.
Yeah, like, well, I think it's better than that, though, like, in the sense of, like, we're not talking it's super behind. Like, okay, it's behind the curve, obviously. This is a Bloodfen Raptor. We're paying 3 mana for a 2-drop. You know, on its front. On its back, we're paying a little, you know, more for the weapon, yeah, but even if it's something like, okay, I have to play this on 3, and I just hold this 3/2 weapon that is just 6 damage at the end of the game. You know, or if I have a deadly poison in my hand, it's like I get my own. At least I'm assuming this is how they thought about it when they're creating this card.
I mean, I think you're giving up tempo for value, which I guess Rogue has plenty of tempo, so maybe you can afford to do that, but not too much of that.
As far as constructed, that's a whole different matter, and
as far as constructed, just compare this to SI7 Agent and feel very, very bad.
Right. I guess one of the things for me is that I always value some sort of interaction with my opponent quite highly in the arena, and this does give you a removal spell where you can go ahead and take out things in the arena. Like, and so you can, yeah, you give up a bit of tempo when you play the weapon because that's a 3 and a 3, but you make that up by having a, you know, a weapon in play.
So you've convinced me. I think you've raised my opinion of this for Arena, although I still don't think, I certainly wouldn't call this a strong card, but it's a fine card. Constructed, I think no way, Jose.
Like, they talked about when they changed Blade Fury that they were going to give Rogue new and better weapons, and this ain't either of that. Yeah,
maybe next set. And the last Rogue card, so this will be the card that saves Rogue in Constructed, right? Ethereal Peddler, 5 mana, 5/6. Okay, it's a pit fighter, and with an upside, Battlecry, reduce the cost of cards in your hand from other classes by 2. It's almost like you get to Emperor Thaurissan twice.
4 cards generated by what? 4 cards in the game?
So you got Swashbuckler, you've got Undercity Huckster, you've got Burgle, and is that it?
Nefarian?
Yeah.
That's it? Like, like how else are you getting out of class?
No, you know what? Where this card will actually be seeing use is you're playing as a warlock. You renounce darkness into a rogue, and then you ethereal peddler because you're not actually a rogue. You're a warlock.
Okay, that would be incredible. You renounce darkness, play this on 4, and your hand just all of a sudden goes to 0 cost. Getting up on Tyrion. Like, I'm a fan of this card for 2 reasons. 1, Pit Fighter in the arena, like A+, would play Pit Fighter again. For 2, Kratok kind of brings it up in that it kind of changes how you think about deck design, but I don't think that there's enough there for you to, like, want to build a deck around this effect. Like, we counted 4 cards in the game and then, like, some really, really niche, like, play.
Right. But
this is
a card to keep an eye on if they ever print more of this mechanic in Rogue, of theft.
Yeah. I do want to see somebody just renounce in a Peddler, and then they're like, alright, Peddler. Oh, that made my Peddler in my hand cost 2, Peddler. Like, yeah, I like it a lot. From my perspective of, like, as an arena player, like, a Pit Fighter's great, and, like, an ability on a Pit Fighter, like, I don't even think it needs to be great.
I mean, it's not an ability you're having that will often do anything, but it sometimes does something, and that's good. Yep. So, yeah, play it in Arena. I don't think this is helping Rogue and Constructed yet. I think this archetype needs more for this to be good, but it's a card to keep an eye on.
It's also kind of funny because that's, like, so just going on a quick tangential thing about the mechanic itself, like, it feels really close to the whole Thoughtsteel Priest thing, and, like it's interesting that they didn't print something like, you know, like Swashbuckler for Priest would have been a really cool thing with the add a card from your opponent's deck to your hand or something like that. I don't...
Yeah, no, so what you do is you play Priest and you Thought Steal your opponent's Ethereal Peddler and then reduce the cost of the other card you Thought Stole.
Alright, perfect.
Yeah.
And hopefully you win because your opponent's generating Priest cards, so they just get a bunch of Purifies.
And by the way, you know what the saddest reality about the Theft deck, or this doing even in Arena, is if that deck actually becomes good, this is bad in the mirror.
Ha! The better the deck gets, the worse it gets. It's like how their current balance idea for the Arena is if every single player is playing Mage, Mage has a 50% win rate.
That doesn't work. But there's something wrong with that math. But anyways, but yeah, Peddler. The only thing considered, there are a lot of rogues in the Arena. So if you are playing it, but anyways, on to Shaman.
All right, Shaman.
So first
Shaman, King of Constructed.
First, we've got Spirit Claws. 1 mana, 1/3 weapon. So that's slightly worse than a Light's Justice, but has +2 attack while you have spell damage, and then it's a 1 mana 3/3 weapon. So Cursed Blade looking kind of iffy compared to this with the spell damage.
So
and it's another weapon for Shaman at common.
That's pretty cool for a common weapon. I'm assuming the idea with this card is you play it on 1, and then you... okay, Warrior's actually the King of Construction. I don't know my construction.
Yeah,
so
Dragon Tempo Warrior right now is the top deck, because Alex Stras's champion to rush down your opponent at the start of the game, followed by really good top end, is just...
Okay.
And Fiery War Axe to back that up is just kind of insane. But
yeah, so this card, I assume the platonic ideal of this card is you play it on 1 and then roll spell damage.
Right, so that's what really makes this card better, is you don't even have to have spell damage cards in your deck. You could just roll spell damage totem, or have one already out, and then surprise, I have a 3/3 weapon.
Okay.
And there are other ways to get spell damage totem, because like Totemic generates them, and
or you can play like Blood Mage Thalnos or something
right,
like.
If you're in Constructed, this is I think definitely Arena playable, possibly good. Depends how much spell damage you've got, but I wouldn't like pick a Evolved Kobold if you pick this.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't go that far, but.
I wouldn't pick Evolved Kobold, end of sentence, but, you know.
And if you don't have the spell damage as a 1/3, you could do worse on commons. And if you do have it, it's...
Right, like, they're gonna kill your spell damage totem, but it's not like you make the spell damage totem and it explodes on sight. Like, you make it and then get it to attack for 3.
Right. So,
and also, if you actually do go, like, Claws on 1, your opponent plays a 2-drop, and then you roll spell damage totem and kill their 2-drop, they're not killing your totem.
Right. The issue there is having to roll totem on 2 feels really bad.
Yeah.
But
like I said, this is kind of at the mercy of your hero power, but like I think it's at least an interesting card.
Right.
And
it's amazingly it's an ancient mage buff. Like suddenly having like instead of your spell damage itself, just having something with spell damage. I mean that's a new mechanic for Hearthstone, caring about having spell damage.
Yeah.
Well, actually no, I take that back. There's the 4/2 that gets bigger.
Yep. Also, I guess going to Constructed on this, like there are enough spell damage minions that are reasonable that make this a good enough card.
Like mentions Azure Drake.
Azure Drake was exactly what I was thinking about.
And Thalnos.
So.
Is it better than Stoneforged Axe? Question mark.
Give me the Stoneforge axe. At least in the Arena, give me the axe every time. It's really hard to fight that.
Yeah. Anyways, but hey, it's a new Shaman weapon. That's something I actually haven't had that. many of, at least at a low rarity.
Mm-hmm.
Those have all been high rarity lately. Anyways, Shaman's next card, Wicked Witch Doctor, which is really amusing just flavor-wise for that concept. But 4 mana 3/4, which is behind the curve, and whenever you cast a spell, summon a random basic totem. I had to put basic in there so you're not just pulling out totem golems. But
I think that's the word that kind of makes this card.
Thing is, for the 1 mana more on your spider tank, which is already putting it to be kind of bad, I think that's actually adding next to no value on your spells. Like, I don't value basic totems very highly at all.
Well, the value is it's treating it as a 2 mana refund. It's giving you a hero power activation,
right?
Every time you cast a spell, you're getting a 2 mana. I'm air quoting here very loudly. Effect for every spell, but the trick is that like the hero power activation out of Shaman isn't usually an actual 2 mana.
I mean, I guess, like, if you made this any better, then it would be a Violet Teacher at common.
And then that's way too good.
Right. But, like, 1 health less, you're getting totems instead of 1/1s. I don't think this card is good. You could do worse, but I don't think it's good.
I'll say I kind of agree thinking about it as like the Violet. It's hard to balance this, like, to make it like you have to walk a line of not making it overpowered and not making it unplayable, and I think they erred on the side of not making it overpowered. They steered backwards, and that's right. It's fine if you have to make that decision.
Because, like, if you are making something that's a better Violet Teacher in Shaman, suddenly you've got, like, okay, I play all my burn spells at your face in my aggro deck and also get an army in a can.
Yeah. Well, also, like, this, I'm making an assumption here, but this doesn't seem to be limited by the totem rules of the hero power. So, like, you can get multiple spell damage totem. You can get multiple.
Yes, I believe so. Now, the other question for this card is, how does this work if you... It says whenever you cast a spell, not after. How does this work if you roll spell damage totem while you're in the middle of casting a damaging spell?
You should get +1. You should. With the wording on the card, the minion appears before the spell resolves. Like, think of it as if you were casting, like, a Hellfire into a Violet Teacher. How Violet Teacher,
right.
Like...
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it should up the damage. Probably.
So.
Okay, and the last card for Shaman, they're rare, Maelstrom Portal. 2 mana spell, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, summon a random 1-cost minion. So, Arcane Explosion is a mage card that is basically unplayable and constructed, and I don't feel good about picking in the arena.
Yeah.
This is slightly better than that. At rare.
I'd say better in 2 ways. For one, you're in a class that's much more likely to get spell damage.
True.
You know,
and
totem.
Spell damage is the only reason you would even ever want to play Arcane Explosion. Basically.
Right. Like, so 1-cost minion, I want to say you're just getting a 2/1 most of the time, or a 1/2. Like, you know, you're not getting...
Yeah, a 2/4 would be the best thing you could get out of this.
Yeah. Like, that math has also sort of been done based on the Druid 3 mana minion.
Right.
The winnings on here are a 2/4 or a 3/1 Wind Fury.
Right. Or even just a 1/3 that does things like a Mana Worm or a Trog.
Yeah.
And you're actually in a class that can use a Trog, unlike Druid. So, I wouldn't go out of my way to pick this, but I don't think it's that good, but it's...
I'd be okay with it. I like the big trick here is that Shaman isn't always isn't a class that has a lot of sweepers.
Yeah, actually, notably, 1-cost minions are better with this set, because we've got a 1 mana 2/2 and a 1 mana 2/1 that grows with spells.
And a 1 mana 0/2 that doesn't do anything.
Well, you always run the risk of getting a dragon egg out of here anyways.
Yeah. Can't win them all.
Yeah. So I think that's all there is to say for Shaman, unless you had anything else you want to say there.
Nope.
So speaking of 1-drops, Malchezaar's Imp. We're into Warlock cards. 1 mana, 1/3 demon. With whenever you discard a card, draw a card. So, wow, they're really pushing for discard Warlock, aren't they?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we sneaking a peek ahead, they really, really want discard Warlock to be real.
Yeah, but that said, 1 mana, 1/3. It's fine, but I mean, I'd rather have a Warlock. It's a 1 mana, 1/3 with taunt.
Yeah. There's only one deck this fits in, I guess, is the
discard deck, which question mark if that works.
Yeah, like I assume like living the dream is you play this on 1 and then either Librarian or Succubus on 2. Preferably like discarding Fist of Jaraxxus or the card over on the far right here that we haven't touched on. So like basically it's a question of, is that actually a good enough deck? And I don't think it's reliable enough is really
it certainly has more tools, because that's, if they were going to print that archetype before, that is what it needed, was more tools. I don't think it's there yet, but it's getting there. Anyways, on to the other Warlock common, though. Karazhan. Summon a 1/1 Candle, a 2/2 Broom, and a 3/3 Teapot. So, my first question is, why is the Teapot the 3/3?
That's weird.
But, shouldn't it be the Broom? But, so this is like 6 power and 6 health for 5 mana? So, but not exactly. I mean, you could make comparisons to, like, again, Squire Attend Me, but you're splitting your 4/4 into a 3/3 and a 1/1.
Yeah. This is a direct print of a Magic card?
Yeah, what is it? It was from Zendikar Block?
Bestial Menace.
Bestial Menace.
I think it was Bestial Menace.
Yeah. Cone of Beast.
Yeah, I was gonna say, usually it's Cone of, yeah.
Not to be confused with Cone of +1/+1 counters, but because I always get those 2 cards confused, but but anyways, yeah, this is a Magic card, but I think like works. Oh yeah, Councilman Huzzah brings up. I mean, a lot of cards work well with Councilman, but that said, like, Warlock is the deck that wants to have lots of things, little things on the field that can take the most advantage of it. So maybe this 5 is a lot for constructed Warlock, but
right, especially in a deck that's already playing Forbidden Ritual, you know, like.
I mean, the other card you could compare this to is like, well, yeah, Forbidden Ritual may just be better than this. Is Consideration 1, and Consideration 2 is like, there's that Paladin spell that's 5 mana and summons 5 1/1s, and that card turned out to be pretty bad. So
yeah, I was going to ask, like, what do you think about this in the arena?
This is more condensed. I think this is still fine, compares decently to Squire Attend Me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat there. I like being able to just flood the board and have, like, okay, I can make decent trades around.
Right. I'd rather have it more condensed in a bigger body. Like, it's not a pit fighter, but
right.
And you feel really bad if your opponent the next turn, like, coins into a Flame Strike. But I guess it's only 1 card, though, so maybe you force a sweeper out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if they have to Flame Strike your 1 card, you're feeling fine.
Right.
So
yeah. Okay, and then Warlock's last card, Silverware Golem. 3 mana, 3/3, which is, it's not a spider tank, but it's close on stats. And if you discard this minion, summon it. So this is the card I think might put discard Warlock into viability. This is Madness 0.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of the Basking Root Walla that makes Madness function strong, and you know it's a 3/3. Like, this is this is an auto 2 of in any deck that's trying to do discard, because this is so much better than Fist of Jiraxis at doing its job.
I'm not saying the discard deck wants to play Succubus, but like if you Succubus on 2 and get this dropped, and suddenly you've got 7 attack and 3 health on board on turn 2, you're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, like that's very hard to come back from.
Yeah.
Like
that's enough power to trade with Shaman 7/7 before it even comes down.
Right, like you have the trade on board for it already, and you attacked for 14 before that happened. Like,
that said, I'm not sure Succubus is what you're going to want to be playing in that deck. It's more likely like Soulfire and Doomguard of some kind. The problem with discard is, again, it's random, and that's really where it comes down to why the archetype's been bad. If you could pick what you could discard,
that would be incredible.
Like, you not only need a discard card, but you need it to randomly pick Silverware Golem is what it discards. Like, you're often, even if you get the Succubus on 2, like, you have to hope you win the lottery of it picking to discard this. And, like, whoops, discarded your Doomguard. Sorry, buddy.
Yep. But, you know, if, like, for the discard deck, this is, like, Malakazar's Imp, like, oh, okay, like, that's alright. Like, it obviously goes in the discard deck, but I'm not sure how, like, great it is. This one, like, A+. For that one deck, this is exactly what it wants. Yeah.
Definitely. Free 3/3 is pretty good, I hear.
So.
And I guess we'll go on to Warrior. So, a new common weapon, Fool's Bane. 5 mana, 3/4 weapon with unlimited attacks each turn, can't attack heroes. So, first of all, I hate this card wording, because it's unlimited attacks each turn, but it's actually 4 attacks in your turn. Unless you're giving it durability.
Yeah. Yeah, this is powerful.
Yeah, and can't attack heroes. So basically, yeah, you could be throwing your face into 4 guys, taking a bunch of damage, but like dealing 3 damage to 4 different guys. Like, I think this gives Warrior something it desperately, desperately needed for Arena to be viable, and that's a sweeping option.
Right, like, it's not a full sweeper, but it's huge. Like, it's like, on turn 5, this will should full sweep on 5.
I've talked to people saying it's not good because you're taking lots and lots and lots of damage. Well, damage on Warrior is something it can recover from due to having a hero power. I mean, not saying it's wise to take a ton of damage off this, and heck, you could even punch the same thing multiple times, split your 12 damage. It's 12 damage to minions for 5 mana. Yeah. Even if you might be taking a beating. And, like, gives you a sweeper option. Like, what Warrior had before is, like, its other sweeper. Like, 1 damage to everything is not really that real unless you're, like, on early turns. Like, Brawl, and that's an epic. So, Arena, okay, 5 mana, that's the same cost as Brawl. It's not as good as Brawl, but it's a common.
People are also pointing out this card combos incredibly well with the 4/3 we mentioned at the top of the stream. The your hero is immune.
Yeah, that is true.
Like, if you get that set up, which 2 commons, and you know, in the Arena, the new set actually gets I believe it's 25% boost to showing up or appearances in the Arena, so, like, it's likely enough that those 2 commons come up together.
Yeah. And also, I think, due to the way it's worded, if you had a weapon already up, you could attack with that other weapon, then play this, and then get 4 more attacks. I want to say that should work.
Yes, that should with this. However, I believe if you did it the other way, where, like, you attacked with Fool's Bane and then play another weapon over, you've already used your attack for turn. So.
Right. I mean, I guess it depends what unlimited attacks each turn means. If it means attacks don't count against your 1 attack each turn, then the other way would work. But if it means unlimited attacks while this is active, then it wouldn't.
I want to say you should be able to play this after you attack with a weapon. Like, you play Death's Bite on 4, attack with Death's Bite on 5 to break it, and then play Fool's Bane. You should still have all 4 attacks with Fool's Bane because of I'm basing this off of Doomhammer.
Yeah.
Like, you can attack with a weapon, play Doomhammer, and then get the second attack.
You know what? Doomhammer mentioned. I've now thought of the other card you want to combo this with, besides the 4/3, and that's Heroic Strike.
So it has 7 power, and you're just it's the Hyper Wrath. Like, you just take out anything.
Yeah.
Like, nice ogre crushed.
So that's also obviously why it can't attack heroes. I mean, besides the fact that it would be 12 damage immediately for 5 mana. Like, this with a Heroic Strike is, 28 damage for 7 mana. So that's... The can't attack heroes is certainly justified. Anyways.
Well, we got some other cards.
So, Warrior gets a portal too. Ironforge portal. 5 mana, gain 4 armor, summon a random 4-cost minion. So you're overpaying by 1 on a 4-drop for gaining some armor. So what's the expected on a 4 mana minion? Because this is... Now we're thinking what pops out of a Sky Golem.
I think on a 4 mana minion we have it's around a 4/4, but it's not as high as the 5 mana minion. Like, we can get some big hits on 4. This math has all been for piloted Sky Golem. For bad ones, we have, like, if you've ever had a piloted Sky Golem die, you can remember any time it's popped open, like
Evolved Kobold.
Evolved Kobold, or the 4/4 taunt, the 1/1 taunt that copies a minion you control, or copies the power toughness of a minion you control.
Or even like 1/4 Drake or 4/1 Drake, not looking so good.
Gain 4 armor, gain an eerie statue. Nice.
Right, eerie statue. But what's on the good end of this? Like
Pit Lord.
Yeah.
Pit Lord is like one of the top. Hungry Dragon is also at that same spot.
Right, and then you're effectively getting a Pit Fighter with upside.
I think the card is fine.
I mean, what's the expected value on stats? I know it's sub Yeti. I think there's a lot of...
I want to say it's slightly lower than 4/4, close to 4/4. Oh, right. You can. There's a nice 7/7 you could possibly get off of this.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably top of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Ancient's Curse as well. As I mentioned.
Yeah, and you don't even get cursed.
So yeah, there's some nice things to pull out of it. It can whiff though into like a 1/1, but so would you pick it in arena? I think 4 is the highest variance mana cost. I want to say 4 has more variance than any other.
Yeah, I'm fine with this card. I think it's fine. I would pick this in the arena. Like, I don't know how highly. Like, I don't think it's like it's certainly not like auto pick, but it's like if it's like I look at it, I need a 5-drop. Sure, fill out the curve and also like gain a bit of armor back.
Yeah. And last warrior card, which I believe is the last card of the set. Protect the King. 3 mana spell. For each enemy minion, summon a 1/1 pawn with taunt. So, unleash the pawns. Except, charge is a much more powerful mechanic than taunt.
I think somebody at Blizzard really wanted their bolster deck to work.
So, yeah, so that said, there's a few things this could go really, really well with. Bolster, anything that really boosts your team. Or heck, even just like Frothing Berserker, and a bunch of trades have to happen, and you have an enormous Berserker.
Yeah, like, or even like Knife Juggler, the obvious other.
Right. Yeah. So that's the other obvious one. Things you would combo, make lots of 1/1s with.
Yeah, I like this card. Like, it has to be about 3 to 4 to be real. The having a bunch of 1/1s with taunt means that it's very hard for like they're not just going to get through it with one attack, you know, like they have to, all right, I have to waste an attack on this 1/1, attack on the 1/1, attack on the 1/1, or they, you know, or they play Whirlwind or Ravaging Cool or whatever. That's fine, but
yeah. And how do you feel about this with Bolster?
I mean, I still wouldn't play Bolster, so if I had to play a Bolster, this is the card I'd want to play it with. I mean, I've played Bolster once, and that was in a Tavern Brawl. That was just a bunch of target dummies.
That was a very good Tavern Brawl. Anyways. And so, any other thoughts on this, or should we move into thoughts on the set?
Yeah, let's go into thoughts on this set.
Okay, so the first thing I want to discuss, and this is something that bothers me a tremendous amount about this set, is Hearthstone is a game where most sets, besides, say, the classic set, which is just, like, basic, simple stuff, has had a theme mechanically. So if we start at Naxxramas, the theme was Death Rattle. Goblins versus Gnomes, we had mechs and randomness. The Grand... Oh, sorry, I skipped one. Blackrock Mountain, we had dragons. The Grand Tournament, I mean, which was actually probably the actual dragon set, but that's an aside. We had Hero Power.
Inspire.
As your theme, Inspire, True Heart, and copying opponents' hero powers, like all stuff related to pushing the mechanics of hero powers. League of Explorers, we had Discover, and Whispers of the Old Gods. I mean, it was a little less focused, but there was still a theme of, like, big drops and the old gods.
Right, we had cards that were, like, you could see that there was the theme, like, cards that were themed for Yogg. You had a bunch of cards that were themed for Cthulhu. You had cards that were themed for, like, you know, you had that sort of setup.
Yeah, the mechanical theme for One Night in Karazhan is a pile of cards. Like,
yeah.
We have some sub-themes, like we have a cycle of portals. We have, which would maybe make me think that the actual theme of this set is random again, because GVG rotated out. But, and then we have, like, there is a menagerie sub-theme. That's one new thing it's doing mechanically. And then a few minor things like more cards that care about when you cast a spell. And, like...
Discover is back again, or...
They put one Discover card in here, and...
There's more than that. There's the Dragon Discoverer as well.
Right, sorry, two Discover cards, and just like there were two in Whispers, just to keep that as a mechanic in the game, which I appreciate, but, like, sub-theme of portals, the Menagerie sub-theme, which is one new thing it's doing mechanically, and, like, maybe some minor stuff that, like, cares about... Like, cares about casting spells. There's some more discard warlock stuff. There's, like, more stuff that cares about secrets, but there's no cohesion to this. Like, mechanically, the set doesn't do anything specifically. It's just cards in various themes, and also many of them underwhelming.
The set's theme is Hearthstone. Yeah, it doesn't have any like, there's some flavorful themes, like there's one of the things in Karazhan that I don't play World of Warcraft, but a number of my friends do, and they've talked about how Karazhan was this really freaking cool raid where there's one boss fight that was a chess-themed boss. So one of the things they went out of their way to do in this is have a bunch of chess-themed cards. You know, so there's the Onyx Knight. There's Ivory Knight. There's Onyx Knight. There's Protect the King. There's
Ivory Knight, Onyx Bishop. Yeah, I didn't realize that was a chess piece.
Onyx Bishop. Yep.
Right. The Unleash the Pawns, and I know there was, I think, at least one more chess card, wasn't there?
I think so.
It was a neutral card, I want to say. But yeah, and then you've got like so like flavorfully they have this theme kind of going on, but you're right, like mechanically this is just like a hodgepodge of cards we printed. Yeah, and like you've got the like the fairy tale villains, which is another, I think, based on another boss fight. Like you've got Karazhan, where you have to obligatorily sing Be Our Guest when you play it, or the Wicked Witch Doctor, and
Oh, it's seriously three cards.
The kindly grandmother.
Right, the fairy tales sort of calling out there. We or like
and a number of book related cards too, like
right, like because we have a Beauty and the Beast reference, we have a Little Riding Hood reference, we have our I forget the other literary. We have another literary reference with the there's a couple, the Wicked Witch Doctor, yeah. So
I mean, you've got cards themed around various boss fights, but like so flavorful it's themed, but just I don't like how there's no mechanical theme. It just feels like a pile of cards, and many of them are like weird experimental stuff. Like a lot of them, like there are a lot of archetypes in Hearthstone that are hurting, and this doesn't do anything really to help any of them. Give me just 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I guess it does feel a little more like just they didn't commit to any themes on this. There's just a lot of like, oh, we have this idea, we have this idea, we have this idea. Let's do them all.
Sorry about that. I'm back. Okay. Yeah, so also, but as I was saying, constructed though, there were a number of decks that have holes that they need to fill, and Priest not really getting anything helpful. Like Arena, let's give more strong stuff to Mage. Like this and feels Road. Like it's not a set that's solving any of Hearthstone's problems. It doesn't feel cohesively mechanically. There's some weird things it branches out onto that probably aren't that good. Like it's a set I'm just nothing excites me a whole lot. Like
I'm quite honestly, the thing that excites me the most is like the adventures, trying out like that's part of the experience of it too. Is like I want them to be like fun built adventures that I have to do interesting deck building for.
Well, I hope that's the case. Harriet's been talking to me about how lately and saying that the last one, League of Explorers, was like too easy or something like that, or heroic. I don't know, but I don't really want like Blackrock Mountain again, which was just pain and agony.
Yeah, I look, if it's another League of Explorers, I will take it, because like League of Explorers was fun and had at least a number of interesting ones. The heroics were pretty easy in them. I can say there were a lot of the heroics that I finished without making sweeping changes to my deck.
Right. I mean, like, I think the most egregious of those is the first time you fight Rafam, where he steals your deck. Your plan is the same on normal and heroic, and also the mine carts as well. Like,
yeah, I actually think on heroic the hero power that Rafam has goes down to 0. Is that
maybe? But if you're giving him a deck full of cards that don't do anything, that doesn't matter a whole lot. So I don't know.
Yeah. What class do you think? So we've talked about we've talked about okay, Mage got really good in the arena and such in here. Do you think what classes do you think did get the best out of here?
Druid, I think, got some potentially all 3 of its cards I think are good. I would play definitely the Enchanted Raven and Beast Druid and Constructed, and maybe the Warden as well. Hunter's cards are good. I'm just not terribly excited for them.
Yeah. Hunter was the class I was going to bring up, not as the best. I don't think they came out super on top, but like both from a standpoint of like kind of hurting in the arena. This is a buff to them. Like, okay, we have them Spider Tank and a good minion.
Is there anything else that's really excited for? I want Discard Warlock to work, but I don't think it's there yet. So, like, Silverware Golem, I'm excited for. Most of the Druid cards, I'm excited for. And then, some of the Legends will be fun. Like, Barnes, I think will be strong in Death Rattle decks. Curator, there may be strong in some decks. And Medivh, I'm sure, will be fun to play with, even whether or not he's good, which I think remains to be seen. And I like Moat Lurker existing just as a way, just for other classes that don't really get a thing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the Violet Illusionist is that thing.
That's a card I'm excited to just play with. Like, even if it's just I play this on 5 and Hero Power and Warlock, like, I'm in.
Yeah, is this making a Warlock like a better arena class?
The thing is that Warlock, it's 2 cards at common. Like, for one, the Imp is certainly not something you want in the arena. Like, whenever you discard a card, draw a card. So that's not really a change to it. The Cone of Creatures is fine. I don't think that's a huge buff to it. But
I was just thinking about the 4/3 that makes your hero immune.
Yeah.
I mean, hard to say. There's some stuff that here doesn't really do a lot, and there's some stuff that might do something, but there's nothing here that's like definitively, oh yes, this is good. Like, I don't know. I'm just somewhat underwhelmed. I still think I would pay the 2,800 gold for it, but like, I'm actually on the fence between what's a better value between that and 28 packs.
I mean, I have the gold just sitting around, so it's not even a question if I'm going to do it or not. But like, even if it's just for like 2 or 3 of these cards for constructed, I'm definitely worth it. I think it's worth doing from my perspective as somebody who's just sitting on a pile like goddamn cash like a loafing dragon.
Yeah. Also, I keep scrolling past Purify and getting mad every time I see it, but
I mean, I guess they gave me 10 free dust too to go with my cards that I got. That's weird.
10 free dust you can cash in 2 years.
2 years from now, I'll get that dust. I'm really, for me, I want the adventure to be fun. That's why
and that might actually make or break the value of the thing. I mean, looking at bosses, I guess. I mean, that's a whole discussion we could stream for itself, and maybe we'll stream, because I am intending to stream all the bosses, and I guess I could talk about them there. But there were some interesting ones they showed, at least in the preview streams. Like there's the chess boss, where all your minions must attack, and they must attack minion directly across from them. And if there's, due to like the way positioning works on Hearthstone boards versus even versus odd number of minions, if there's multiple minions across from your minion, it hits both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Like,
Harriet, I mean, that was a meta dominated by 4-mana 7/7s, and it's really fun to see Purify taking 1 meta by storm. So
I think that's the other thing for this set is it seems like it's coming out at the wrong time. Like, none of these cards in what standard is right now.
Like, it doesn't have a huge effect on it, you're thinking?
Like, is this stuff that they're maybe making like as previews because it goes well with the next set? Like, are we just not seeing the future cards? Because now they've changed the formula from 2 adventures and 1 big set a year to 2 big sets and 1 adventure a year. So, and they'll be doing that every year. So
I kind of wish they would have done the full cycle of portals.
Yeah, just give Priest a portal instead of Purify.
Well, like, you know, there's what, 5? There's Fireland's Portal, there's Firemoon Silverland.
2, 3, 4, and 5, yes.
Was there just not enough, like, locations for them to do the rest of those portals from, like, a...
Well, I think another consideration is everyone does a different level of drop, and you've got one that summons 1 drops, 2 drops, 4 drops, 5 drops, and 6 drops.
Okay,
so like okay, you could make a 3-drop one. That's fine. But then, what, you want to make one that summons 0 drops, 7 drops?
Okay, that actually does get a bit hard there. Like, once you have the...
Yeah. But anyways, set comes out Thursday, I think I want to say. I don't know if it's Wednesday night at midnight or like into Thursday, or if it's actually Thursday in the middle of the day. But and I do intend to stream them all, not necessarily right when they come out, but hopefully sometimes. You know, I guess one last thing we can take a look at is the release schedule for when the cards actually become available to use by when.
Yeah.
So, oh right, so the first thing available is everybody gets for free the prologue, where you play as Medivh and fight Prince Malchezaar. And whether you buy the adventure or not, you're getting Enchanted Raven, which is one of the cards I actually care the most for free, without even having to buy the thing, as well as Firelands Portal.
Oh, so first week, right out the gates, we're getting Arena just demol. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Enchanted Raven and Firelands Portal. Because, yeah, Arena is going to also be in waves. And then I believe we know all the cards for the first wing of the Parlor as well that we're getting. So we get Deadly Fork, Silverware Golem, Karazhan, Priest of the Feast, Onyx Bishop, Ivory Knight, Protect the King, and Morose.
Okay, I'm probably gonna do these streams as well. I'm like, because I do like playing through these adventures. They're very fun. Like,
yeah, Constructed and is going to be a bit of a mess during these weeks, because with every adventure, Constructed changes every week when the new cards come out. So that's always going to be a fun time. But and it looks like we know some cards for the next weeks. Week 2 has the Pompous Thespian, the Kindly Grandmother, the Wicked Witch Doctor, and Barnes is known. The Menagerie is known. Zubat, Nightbane Templar, Fool's Bane, and the Curator. And I imagine the larger Menagerie card, the bigger Zubat, is also in there.
Yep.
And then the last week confirmed is Ethereal Peddler, Babbling Book, Netherspite Historian, Bookworm, and Prince Malchezaar and Medivh. And we also know who all the bosses are, except for the last one. But yeah, it'll be 700 gold per wing, 2,800 total, 4 wings. But and the prologue is free for everyone, even if you don't get any part of this.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting, and I think with that, do you have any final thoughts?
Nope, that's all I've got for here. I think we've covered this pretty thoroughly.
Alright, it only took us, what, like 2.5 hours to discuss 45 cards? Ah, well. I guess we both like talking about card games. So, thank you everyone in the zoo for joining. Thank you Slio9 for co-piloting this stream and discussing all this stuff. And I guess I'll see everyone around.
Yep, good night everybody.
Good night.